Hey, what's up, everybody? Shitmonkey here, and today I just wanted to do a quick little tier list. My thoughts on Season 8. Basically a preliminary. Season 8's only been out for a week. Did PTS for 2 weeks, so I'll be taking into account what I played on PTS, what I've been able to play this week. Of course, it's for Conquest, um, normals, and ranked. And back in the day when I made tier lists, I was like, well, I'll be keeping in mind for a competitive aspect to this. I'm not doing that anymore. I think SPL is just so far out of reach now. It was back then too, but it's so on another level right now that like I can't even. I'm not even gonna mention SPL at all. The character's SPL relevance. So just for your normals and your ranked. So you may notice it'll fluctuate from what a pro player would say in some aspects. But let's get right into it. You can see here, it's going to be a little bit different than a normal MOBA tier list. It's going to be more like a fighting game tier list. So essentially, like towards the left side, the character is better. I'm not just like pulling them over and placing them at the bottom of the rack, essentially. And so B tier will be like balanced, and then like this would be like a little bit below balanced, and this is a bit above balanced, and this is just ridiculous delicious. So let's get into it. So Achilles, I think Achilles just gets kind of outshined, but I do think he's still A. I mean, you can still carry really hard with Achilles, especially Achilles jungle. Like, I don't know, people just don't play Achilles jungle, and I don't know why. It's actually kind of nutty. Like, you can build damage on him, you get one defense item, and you're actually set. You actually do as much damage as an assassin, and you play as an assassin, pretty much. Except you got a little bit more defense. So, I think Achilles is just nuts, to be honest. Like, he just always feels good. Like, even in super hard lockdown comps, I mean, you could just use your ult to get away, you know? Like if they got, like, RTO Ganesh, something just aids like that, he still feels fine, you know? You still feel like you can function. Whereas some characters you get against a team like that as a warrior, and you're like, you just throw up your hands like, okay, I know I can't play, just kill me. So, but I don't feel that as Achilles. The only problem with him is when he gets behind, his damage isn't really relevant. And late game, if you're building Bruiser, your damage isn't really relevant unless you completely unload on someone with all your AA cancels with an execute on top of that. So he can be a major threat. He's always relevant, but he just hyper carry potential isn't really there. Well, not necessarily hyper carry. That has a bad connotation for what I'm trying to say. But you guys get what I mean. I think a lot of people for a very long time, certain, some thing that was in the community. We're not going to talk about it, but used to always say Agni is the pinnacle of balance, and I think absolutely not. I think Agni is definitely below average. People love Agni because he's very fun god. He is fun god to play. That's English. Yeah, he is very fun to play, and in theory, he should be really good. His ult costs 0 mana. You can just spam it. It's like 180% magical scaling. It should be awesome. It's not though. Like he just gets dicked. Like everyone's like, oh, he's so safe. He's got such a fast dash, but it just gets dicked by so many things. It gets stopped. It gets blocked. And people just catch up to you. Even if you try and stun them, they'll just run you down anyways because you have to stand still to use your ult. Like, if they made it so Agni can move, or at the very least he was only slowed down, he didn't completely stop to throw his bombs, he'd be like, I don't think he'd be S, but he'd be up here. But no, I think he's below average just because he relies so much on the bombs, and the bombs make him stand still. And like the bombs aren't like, it's not like an Anubis assault where you're completely shredding a tank or something like that and life stealing up. Like it's just a singular explosion, and you're gonna get caught for using it if you're not careful. And even so, you might still get caught. But AMC, I just don't think about AMC a lot. But I would say he's like in the same tier, like below average. He can be completely nutty, but you can also just farm him. So that's a problem. And I think the junglers that are good right now just absolutely wreck him. Like I know like jungling ganking right now in laning phase, which is when you'd want to get AMC behind because he can farm really well and split push and things like that. It is harder to gank, but I think any good pick in the jungle is gonna completely cream him, I think. And like the carry potential, like we have like Rom, Apollo, Artemis even is pretty decent too. Like just hyper carries that just out carry him as well. And if you play protect the carry for AMC, that's cool, but like you could have had a better hunter there, you know what I mean? Opwash we don't have to talk about too much about. We don't have to talk too much about Opwash. I think you guys know the issues with him. His one just is a very clunky ability to use. The corpses sometimes makes no sense, the way they stop themselves on terrain. The ult's nice, actually. I do like the ult, and I do like how it's post-mortem now, but it actually has been for a little while. But other than that, I think he's pretty garbage. I don't want to say he's completely unplayable, because mid lane is it's both safer and less safe depending on the jungler, right? Like which what the matchup is. I mean, it's always been pretty unsafe for Opwash, but maybe he is able to use his full range a little bit better on this map. So maybe there's some potential there. I'm not sure yet. Another one I'm not sure about yet on her. Yeah, I'll put on her an average. I don't. You see, you look at items like Mannequin Scepter, and it's like, oh, dude, Honor's gonna be so broken with this. Oh my god! But then like you just get dicked by an Apollo or a Rom using it, and I'm just thinking in my head, this is so good for Honor. I'm gonna do so well as Honor with things like dominance as well. Like I'm gonna do so well, and then it just doesn't. He has the same old problems of having really decent early and mid game damage, but then just completely falling off late game. And then with the advent of Mannequin Scepter, like gods that were not so good early are now good early, and they can actually fight into you. And it's just like he loses some of that potency because other hunters have been on the come up through early and mid game. So Ama, I actually think, is crazy. I think with the new, there we go. I think she is probably better than Achilles. I think she's actually a really decent flex in support right now. I think because of War Flag. I genuinely think you can do that and pull that off. I think there's actually a lot you could do because of War Flag in the duo lane, but we'll get to that later. I think her lane pressure is still really solid. You know how it is. You've watched it 1,000 times. She gets out traded, then she just presses one and then heals up. That's definitely still a factor. And I just think that the ult is just still as good as it's ever been. I know the lanes are a bit wider, so there's a bit more room to spread yourself out if you're fighting in a lane. I mean, if you're fighting in a jungle, Ama ult is still Ama ult. It has like a 70-second cooldown, something crazy like that. And I think she's just super solid, especially with things like Berserker's Shield getting buffed, and then like actually Frostbound's been on the come up too. I've noticed that as well, just because warriors are building more aggressively, and she works great with Frostbound. I know it's like everyone thinks Frostbound is cheese, but like if you're just running at the enemy ADC while you're ahead and you're slowing them and their attack speed, they literally can't do anything unless their support comes in, and then even so, you probably bait like 2-3 actives by then, and then you just ult and you just sit on their face. I would let Ama do that, but that's another story. Anubis, I think. I think he has a lot of potential. Obviously he can stomp really hard. I mean, if Anubis gets ahead, goodbye. I mean, the game's just over. He can basically solo Titan with Rod of Tahuti now giving pen on it. I still want to talk to someone at high res about that. Genuinely, I want to have a sit down conversation, get some coffee. Why did you put pen on Rod, my friend? Why? But I think that helps Anubis a lot, and the fact that Lifesteal didn't really get touched because it was already actually really decent on him, and there's a few more survivability options with the starter items. You can go like a Vamp Shroud, or if you want to go full damage, you can I've actually seen some Anubises grab Conduit Gem and then just one shot at level 5. I thought that was really interesting too. So I think there's actually some flex with Anubis. And it's a bit like Opwash, where like yeah, sure, he's really unsafe, but actually, the way the lanes are working out, actually, he might be safer in some certain jungle matchups. That meaning, like safer than last season, basically. But yeah, and like obviously Magus didn't get changed. Magus is crazy on him. He can basically shred whatever you need him to shred. And rejective, a tank, a carry, it doesn't matter. He'll shred right through them. You don't really have to play protected carry. I mean, you just pop a upgraded shell on anyone and they're fine. But Anubis especially, I mean, he really does lifesteal through a ton. And you know, we'll get into the anti-heal changes with a healer coming up in a sec, but I don't think it affected him too much, I'll be honest. Ao Kuang. I'll play some Ao Kuang, so let me think about this. I'll say he has so much potential to carry, right? I'll put him at the top here. Come on. Alright, so I'll put him at the top of below average tier. I still think it's below average just because like the early game is so horrendous, and I think it's still really bad. Even though you can go Boomba's Dagger and actually grab a tier 1 pen item, which is actually 25 magical power. It just doesn't really help. And I went Mannequin one game and Boomba's Dagger another. Mannequin does not work on him. Fun fact. I was like, oh, dude, his attack changed just like Kali's, but like his autos don't do any damage because he's a not a magician, but he's a magic damage dealer. So his autos don't actually do that much. So your autos plus Mannequin, it doesn't really matter. And like leveling 2 on Ao Kuang is just not a great idea. So it just doesn't even out. But bruh, I have one shot so many people with Poly Rod Ao Kuang. You literally just boop, one auto, dead. It's just over. And if they don't die and they like Aegis late, or they do actually Aegis your damage, it's fine, because then you just cling to them with some auto attacks and they're still gonna die, or at least you're gonna force all their relics and force them out of the fight completely. So there is that still explosive late game, but like, oh, he gets dicked early. So I don't want to say he's too below average, but I'll say he's below average. Someone who's not below average, Aphrodite, ridiculous. I don't want to keep on saying ridiculous. Sorry. I picked that up from one of my friends. I'm sorry. But yeah. Aphrodite's ridiculous. You guys all know about Aphrodite. Does really strong damage. Her 3 is really deceptive. I think they need to rework the visuals a little bit on that, because my friends and I were just getting snagged left and right by Aphrodite 3s that didn't look like they were hitting. But then when you look closer, it's like, oh yeah, it did hit, but it has the same animation as before when it didn't do the initial tick when it first flows on the ground. So that's confusing. But regardless of that little bit of confusion, I mean, the healing's still insane. The global anti-heal really didn't do too much to her. You don't need to go Rod of Healing on her, to be honest. You can actually go Rod of Tahuti on her now, like, confidently, and that's insane. Because keep in mind, Rod of Tahuti actually does enable extra healing on not only yourself, but whoever you're kissed to as well. I mean, she gives great safety to whoever her jungle is. If you want to Afro Tsukiyomi, Afro Sasano, or if you want to cling to your warrior later on into the game, like an Afro King Arthur, Afro Achilles, Afro Amma is a nightmare, as is Afro Kukulkan, which we will get to. Oh my god. But yeah, you guys know Afro. She's a nightmare, does a trillion damage, keeps all of her teammates alive so long as she uses eyes, has her monitor turned on. She has a really bad rep, but I think she actually is really fun. There just has to be some sort of way to make her less annoying to deal with, because I have fun playing Afro. It's really annoying to play against, I know, but she is a fun character. I just wish it wasn't so annoying to play against, But yeah, I mean, she's still crazy. You know how it is. Pretty much carried over from last season. So Apollo. It may just be because Apollo hasn't been in the meta for long enough just yet, where we can actually start to deal with him. But Mannequin Scepter Apollo's... No, actually, not Mannequin Scepter Apollo. Mannequin Scepter is actually the dumbest thing that Hi-Rez has done in, like, the past, I would say, couple years, honestly. It's just such an oppressive and stupid item, especially on someone like Apollo. Because now... Apollos who like dash the wave and then 1D archers and start auto attacking you, they don't actually just die. They actually murder you and your support without the help of their. Well, okay, you do need the help from your support, but you guys get what I mean. It can be really oppressive and just ridiculous. You'll notice this with another character later on in the list who got a little bit of a rework, and and Apollo got touched up a couple times last season, and I think they really didn't think about how they buffed the character and how these new items would work with that buffed character. Because now, like, okay, I'll spoil it. It's Giannis, is what I'm talking about for the other character. It's the same deal. Like, you gave this already okay character some really good new tools, but now you've also given them these new items that they can completely abuse and just be completely oppressive with. So, yeah, but it is still ADCs have a real problem this season. I think it. No, it's not just me. I know it's not. Playing ADCs actually sucks ass this season, like so hard. Unless you're playing Rom or Apollo. Like trying to get through defenses this season is literally impossible. You go like Dominus, XC, Titan's Bane, Jotun's, Crusher. I'm just naming every pen item. That's not a real build. And Kins with Odibo, and you don't hit for more than 100 unless it's super late game. It's the dumbest thing. So I think the fact that Apollo is a hunter actually holds him back. Okay, Arachne. Good question. What do I think of Arachne? I don't know. I think she's probably down here. I don't think she's like bad. Like Upwash is bad, right? But Arachne's definitely on the lower end of below average, I would say. You know, a lot of people are like, hey, she's so good at early game. She could chase down. It's excellent. But, like, the thing is, dude, like, Susanoo, Tsukiyomi, Naja, Thor, do they not all do that really decently as well? And completely, unequivocally outcarry her late game? Like, 100%. Even Thor, whose damage falls off, right? He can still outcarry an Arachne late game easily, you know? Like, I don't see where people are coming from, you know? It's the opposite of Ao Kwang, where, like, really explosive late game, whereas Arachne has a really explosive early game. But, like, you can get someone who has a better early game than Ao Kwang and carry just as hard, and you can get someone who's as good as Arachne early game, unless you're playing against, you know, a really easy things that you can farm with Arachne, like, Anubis, Artemis, AMC, stuff like that. Unless you get lucky with the draft. I mean, if you're like last pick and you last pick Arachne because it's a good matchup, good on you. But, you know, apart from that scenario, I don't see it at all. So, next up, oh my god, I can't speak English. Next up here, we have Mr. Ares, which is also actually interesting. He is matchup dependent, you know. Ares can be really useless sometimes. It's really just dependent on his ADC. Like, if you have an aggressive ADC, Ares can be just really oppressive. Like, the thing is, it's actually a bit like Morgana in League of Legends. Like, if you just hold your chain, that is actually just so much more pressure than you just throwing it out. You know what I mean? Like, or just, like, hitting someone max range with one chain, but you're probably not going to hit the second. Like, just holding the chains there will actually just force the enemy back. And if they don't respect you, you just run up to them with, I mean, honestly, you can go war flag on them and actually just run at them. Like, physically move your body right in front of them so you chain them, and you actually just murk them. He does catastrophic amounts of damage. I think everyone knows that, but he really does bring so much damage that, like, it's really what's the word I'm looking for? Inescapable? That's not the right word. You guys know what I mean. Yeah, but I mean, he has a reputation of just being, oh, he's just a beads burner. But he's a life bar burner, dude. Like, that's actually what Ares is there for. Not just, I mean, if you get really clutch ults, or if you get beads where, like, your assassin is 100% going to be able to get a good engage, or your warrior's going to be getting a good engage afterwards, cool. But he actually really shreds. Like, I think Ares is really solid in that regard. I'd put him probably in between these two guys here, because there are just those times where you just can't apply that damage. Like, you know, you pick Ares if you're in comms with your lane partner, basically, or like you know that they're going to be aggressive, like they're a player who's aggressive with an aggressive hunter. I'm diving through A and I'm 20 minutes in. Yikes! All right, let's get moving. Artemis, she's probably going to stay at the back of this tier, but I do think she's a little above average. I think the damage she brings at literally atomic, like nuclear winter comes when this character hits like late game, but even early game her damage is actually very respectable. Okay, not super early game, but level 5 onward, she actually, like, she will kick you in the nuts, dude. Like, it hurts. I don't know why I used that. I need to get off the internet for a little while. But basically, like, she actually is really oppressive in lane. Like people are like, oh, don't walk up as Artemis. You're gonna get ganked by the jungler. Well, jungle ganks are actually a little more difficult this season, unless it's a matchup that you know you probably shouldn't be walking up either way if you're a hunter. Like, say it's a Sasana or Tsukuyomi at level 5. Like, okay, you probably shouldn't walk up as a hunter anyways. But honestly, even if they do in your level 5, you can actually turn fights with Tusky. It's actually crazy. Like, that ability is actually the nuts. And especially in the late game, y'all know Artemis, right? And I think I'm starting to think, like, I see a lot of I see a lot of players go pen builds, but I think crit is still the way, at least with Artemis. Like, if you get that passive applied on someone, it's just curtains. Like, if they have the passive on them and you get 3 or 4 autos, they're done. Whoever they are, they're out of the fight. If they're a squishy, they're dead. If they're a tank, they're low health and they gotta back out. Like, it is, you really do have to deal with it. It's not like AMC where you can literally just run them down. You have to deal with Artemis because of Tusky and because of the traps and because of her 3, things like that, you know? So that's why I think she's just better AMC, essentially. That's why AMC's down here, because people like her do his job much better. R2, I'll put her a little above Ares, but she can actually get the Dickens sometimes. Like, you look at her character and you think, I can play this character whenever. You know, she's got a heal, she's got a cripple, she's got a long dash, she has a slow, a root, a stun, good damage. I mean, I can do anything. And then you actually get into game, and you're just getting stun locked. You're getting your dash canceled early. You're getting stopped before you get your full bear claws out. The bear stance one, sorry. And just things like that. And you can really apply a lot of pressure. She does do a lot of damage, particularly early game. I remember I was in lane against a Hachi and the Ganesh. And the Ganesh used all of his CC on me, and I just walked at the Hachi. And he was like 3rd health by the time I was done with him, and he had to back, essentially. So, I mean, she could really bring it in support role and in solo lane. She's extremely oppressive, but she does die to ganks pretty easily because, I mean, any jungler is just going to hold their CC until she dashes, and that's the main problem, is that her only her only meal ticket out is dashing, and everybody in the Omniverse knows to wait for the dash and then just cancel it. Then she's just a sitting duck. But I mean, she still does bring that insane pressure, that very high damage, and if she doesn't get stopped, she just CCs people constantly with a really oppressive CC. Someone who actually doesn't get played much anymore is Athena, and I agree, actually. I think Athena's been around for too long, and people just know how to play against it. Like, they know the exact dilithium geographical location of her... that doesn't make sense. Of her taunt, and they know the range of the dash taunt, and they're just straight up not gonna walk into range of that. If you dash in front of them, they're just gonna walk away, or they'll just let you taunt them because it's a taunt. And some of the characters in this game, mannequin abusers especially, will just shred her anyways. You know, she is still decent, but especially with the ult, I think the ult is still of great use. They need a new targeter though, so that your teammates don't accidentally block it. But where would I put her? I'd say she's the highest in below average for now. And fuck my life, God damn it. Who makes this? Is this Weekends? I think it is Weekends. It is actually a very useful tier list. Thank you, Weekend, for this. But oh, Wheelix next. You know, I do have to say, guys, I played her a couple times. I really don't like her on the new map. Even with Suku, I think her ganks are pretty lackluster. Like, you really got to show yourself before you're able to make any sort of moves. I felt completely worthless during the early game, during laning phase. But come late game, she actually really does turn up. Like, people think of Wheelix as early, mid game, just complete dominance because she does a billion damage. But she actually does a billion damage throughout the game, and I think it was like a Neath or something, the classic Wheelix Neath. But I actually didn't ult her at all. What I did was just ult Blink and then auto 2-3 auto, and then just killed her. Like, just killed her straight up. So like, it's not Sasano, it's not Thor, it's not Tsukuyomi late game, but she does actually bring it. And I think she will be just above RTO in the jungle role. I know this is a bit confusing because like, these are all different roles, so it can be a little confusing. I wish there was a way around that, but there's just not. Okay, Baba Yaga next. She's actually kind of tricky because she is. It's just the house. It's just the house and the randomization of the one. Like, if you could choose the shape of your one and her house was just like a little bit faster, she'd be ridiculous. Just absolutely beyond ridiculous because she can go both warlocks, which is actually a really decent item once it gets stacked, But of course, there's a whole dynamic of, oh, you don't want to stack such a lofty item. You definitely don't want to double stack anymore. You're definitely going to get punished for that now. But on Baba, you can totally do it. It's free real estate essentially, and she's pretty safe for the most part. I think now that she's been out for a while, her dash can get stopped in certain matchups, but then of course matchups that rely on knockups more, she can actually be very safe into. So there is that. But I find when she goes into that house, she's just a sitting duck. And I remember we had a Fed Baba Yaga who went Lifesteal Boots, Book of Thoth, Warlock's Rod, Magus. Yeah, something like that. She was destroying, like 10-1, I think. And then just like game, we just killed her. We just farmed up and killed her because she just can't do anything in that house. And like, once her main abilities are down, that's it. That's what she has to use against you. And if all goes well, awesome ability, no doubt. It does do a ton of damage, but I mean, it just doesn't, though. You know what I mean? She's definitely better than Anubis. Definitely. I think she's a little more versatile than Anubis and applies more pressure than him. So, does she get beat as hard as RTO? Well, she does, but like, no, I'll put her a little above RTO actually. I just think on her and Wheelix can survive better in their respective roles. Bacchus? Oh, actually, I just haven't seen too much of Bacchus in Conquest. I still see him in Clash and Arena, of course, because he's like a mainstay in those game modes. But I just don't see him too much in Conquest anymore, and I think he's just fallen out of favor with the other Guardians. Like, you got your Cthulhu, your Cerberus, Kabrakan even in support roles, just fine. So he's just really not in favor. And I think it's another case of Athena where like everyone knows what to do against this character. So I don't know. Is he below average really though? Because I mean, he can still do. Well, the thing is, I say he can do work, but you see him coming from a mile away, and it is a bit like Arachne where it's like, okay, but why bother picking this character? Like, I think almost every other Guardian is better than him at this point. I'll think about that as I go through the list, and I'll get back to you on that. But I think he's probably the weakest Guardian. Everyone loves to talk about his damage, but realistically, you're gonna get punished super hard in Conquest if you try to go for damage Bacchus. Bruiser Bacchus is fine. If you try and go damage Bacchus, it's gonna be GG, I think. So Bakasura. You know, you just don't hear a lot about a lot of talk about him anymore. Um, you know, even when he gets fed, he's just not really that useful. He can't really shut games down like he used to. There's just too many things that play against him, like upgraded shell especially, and then even just sprint can just get you away from him. Basically, if your support or warrior has eyes, they're gonna see Baka coming from like a mile away, and they're gonna be able to peel him off whoever he wants to kill. You know, he can't really shred tanks. That's not really a thing. Um, he could shred squishies all right, but most squishies will be able to turn on him no problem, even if they're a little bit behind. You know. Even hunters, for all the shit I give them for this season, I think they really can just turn on Baka. But I mean, he actually shows a bit of flex in solo in certain matches. But I think the best solo laners right now give him the dick. So it's just hard. I don't want to put him super low because I know he can still put in work. You know, if you don't put all your eggs in one basket and like rely on him to carry, he can still do work. He can still chunk people pretty good. It's just if he gets the wrong matchups or the wrong players who just know how to play against him well, it's just gonna hurt your life force. I don't know. And, you know, when I'm thinking about solo lane, he's gonna get shit on this season. When I'm thinking about jungle, he's not gonna be able to gank this season. Yeah, I think he's all the way down here, almost bordering on useless, I would say. Baron Samdi, who is a flex solo mid laner. I wouldn't try support on him. I'll have to think about support Baron, but I think we go damage Baron, bruiser Baron. He's really solid, maybe even above average. I'll put him in the back of above average. I'll say, like he is just the most annoying thing to play against. Like he pokes you for a trillion, he pokes you again and then heals his team. He pokes you again and then roots you and you're dead. Oh shit. He just keeps throwing shit at you and it keeps on doing a shit ton of damage and CCing you or assisting his team or like even if you're a tank and you're like, oh, I'll tank Baron ult. That's just fine with me. You lose half your health. It's like, oh shit, okay, whoops, shouldn't have tanked that. But you know, like pre-5, he's a pretty free kill. Even if he gets like a really sick like flick 180 3 on you or something, you can still kill him pretty easily. So, but I mean, Lotus Crown is still in the game, which I'm really confused about. Another, cup of tea, cup of coffee, or something with a high-res employee. Why is Lotus Crown in the game? That's a really dumb item. We need to do away with that, I think. I don't know why. Like how is it even fun to play against? You can get into that later. But yeah, especially with Lotus Crown, it just amplifies the fact that he is very utilitarian, but also does a shit ton of damage to anyone, squishy or tank. Bastet, fucking awful. Fuck this. Why did they're gonna rework her? I just hate her, man. It's just, I don't know. She was already feeling old by the time she got reworked, and then they basically just removed an ability from her. Like, you press 4, and then it's the same combo, but it just does more damage. I fucking hate it. It's such a bad design. She's actually not bad. She's probably like just below average, like back here. But fuck it. I don't like her, dude. I don't like the stupid reworks she got. And all the reworks have been shit lately. We'll get to them. Don't worry. I know we're fucking 30 minutes in. I just got to B, but fuck that character. God damn. It's terrible. But she can actually, because I'm going to screenshot this. I'm not going to make everyone sit through like a 2-hour video. But I'll place her just above Baka. She can do more work than Baka, I would say. Still fucking hate playing as her. Bologna fucking cracked this season. I don't know what the fuck they were on. Honestly, she's so oppressive. I'll just put her in S. Like, what the fuck were they thinking with the move speed buff? With the amount of time she gets her weapons for now, you just absolutely slap people around with her big cock. I mean, if you've seen the Rule 34 of her, you know what I'm talking about. No, seriously. Like, they buff the ever-living shit out of her And then they go ahead and buff Berserkers as well, and they give her starter items that are just perfect for her. If you want to go Mannequin, that hurts like hell. If you want to go Death Toll on her, that's great too because it scales with HP. It scales with HP, and warriors can buy it. Oh, I love this game. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea, but I think it's definitely another one of those cases where they buffed the character very hard, and now they have tools at their disposal that they can abuse very hard, like Apollo and Giannis. So Kraken, I think, will fall out of favor a little bit, just because in lane the ult isn't quite as devastating, but I think he's still really solid. He's definitely a B tier for me. The damage is the nuts, and his peel is actually not bad. And if he just sits there throwing an entire team, it actually does start to hurt after a little while. And the trembles can actually be very difficult to get around if you can't CC him out of it. Like you don't play around tremors, he's gonna play around you with the tremors because like the 1 and 2 are and the ult are very quick abilities. So he has all day just to fart around and just wait for you to use CC. Then he's gonna start tremoring, and he's gonna put all of your best laid plans to rest. Does that make sense? I don't. He's a. I'm gonna put him in B, just above. I could put him with his friends, I guess. I would say he's better than Paba though. Better than Wheelix. Better than Wheelix, I would say. Yeah, that's fair. And of course the damage, which I think I mentioned already. But yeah, he can half health a squishy by himself. Do not go full damage, Kraken. You do not have to. Okay, please hear me out. It's fun going like Poly, Soul Reaver, Ethereal Staff. You don't have to. If you just go Bruiser, you'll do literally half health with your 1 and your 2. You really don't have to go full damage and fuck your team over because you're going to die. Camazotz, which we actually saw... Nope, not going to talk about SPL. Camazotz, you can actually really... You can put in a lot of work, but you have to put in a lot of work this season. I think he actually has a lot of trouble ganking this season. Really, he can only... do jungle fights. He's like a Wheelix in that regard. You really can't do anything other than jungle fight with him. Because if you try fighting in a lane, he's gonna have a lot of trouble. Other than his ult, which is it's a good ult, but you know he really, unless he gets like a max range 1 and a max range 2 or something, he's gonna feel kind of useless. But the damage is definitely there. I mean, he's like Dana with 2 death scythes, basically. Like he hurts really bad, and if he chases you down, it's curtains. He has good healing and a lot of lifesteal, so he can really chase people down late game. So where do I think he goes? He's definitely in the average tier, I would say. Yeah, I would say you could probably pick Camazotz more up. Did I just mess something up? No, that seems right. Yeah, I just didn't move it. Okay. That was weird. Okay. I say he's just behind a Wheelix in that regard. And a little bit above Baba. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I think some games he could just be completely useless, like Baba, like a Wheelix. And I think that's just the case for a lot of these average characters. It's just they can sometimes feel useless, but then a lot of times they feel okay. So CERN, I really don't like CERN. I don't like his design at all. His 2 being super finicky, his ult being just the most reactable thing in the universe. He has no CC immunity for some reason. The dash is pretty much the only thing I like about him. But my personal gripes aside, he does do work, actually. Like, he does do a ton of damage. If you're alone with the enemy ADC and it's a CERN, you're in a lot of trouble unless you're like Hou-Yi or something. Or Rom or Apollo. Okay, if you're top pick or Hou-Yi, you're probably in trouble if you're against CERN. But I don't know. I just don't think he's all that. Like, people seem to think he's a sleeper, but then I watch him get played. I don't play CERN. I'm not playing CERN. But then I watch him get played, and he's just okay, and then never shines. You know what I mean? Like, there's the CERNs who just have max attack speed and are flailing around like madmen, but they just never do as well as other hunters, you know? It's not on certain players. It's just I think the character is fundamentally flawed when it comes to being good, like exceptional in any category. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think he's probably worse than Anubis because Anubis can really shine sometimes. I just feel like CERN just can't. And if he gets super fed, sure, but that's all Huntress, you know what I mean? Cerberus, I'll put in the back of A tier for now. I think that's fair. The absurd amount of damage that he can deal is, you got to take note of it. Whether he's support or soul lane, you have to acknowledge the sheer amount of damage he can do. And if you're not careful and the ult snags you, it's over. I mean, and even so, even if you don't get CC'd by it, it does a ton of damage too. I mean, you just gotta sit back and take it sometimes against the Cerberus. Like, even late game, he'll still shred you. And then even so, like, the CC's still decent enough, even if he doesn't hit the stun, if he just slows you because the slow is very long. He slows you for a long time. If someone else catches up, they're just gonna shred you, because he's already shredded you from most of your protections. So it can actually be very treacherous going against the Cerberus, but he can get focused out pretty hard. It's just the thing is, when you focus out a Cerb, he just ults in the middle of your whole team, and you have to react to it, and then the game plan changes immediately. Everything changes once he hits that ult button. I mean, if he truly gets caught, then yeah, okay, you caught him. You could do that with any character. You know what I mean? Other than maybe Giannis, but we'll get there. But yeah, Cerb is just he is a problem sometimes. He's actually surprisingly safe. Like, the leap is super slow, but I don't see it get canceled very often. Like, I think the startup is very deceptive. Like, you can cancel it, but it doesn't look like he's jumping till he's already jumping. If that makes sense. So I think Chalk is, like, nowhere. I think Chalk is nowhere this season. I think he just gets outshined horribly by everyone. I want Chalk to be good, but all he is annoying. So, I can't, like, be forthright and be like, oh, Chalk's good. He's not lane dominant. You use both of your abilities to clear the wave, and then whoever is waiting in the jungle just comes and kills you. If they don't kill you, they force you out, force you to use your heal, things like that, and then you're under tower, and you didn't apply any pressure. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work like that anymore. In Season 1, it worked that way. In Season 2, people pretended to work that way, and then it just never worked that way since, I sound really mean, but, like, I think this guy's so worthless. Like, even when he goes, like, optimal bruiser build for the situation, and he's ahead, he still can't kill any squishies. He can only force them out, and he can't do anything to tanks. The tanks just laugh at him and then just defend their squishies, essentially. And then, but the global anti-heal is not a huge deal for him. We usually want to aggress with Chalk heal anyways. It's not like Ama heal, where like you're out of combat when you heal, you know what I mean? Like, you usually want to be aggressive with Chalk heal because it slows, So there's that. And then with the advent of Frostbound, he could just if you don't need a soul laner necessarily, he can just lame opponents out with like Frostbound 3. Like his 3 and the Frostbound on a squishy. Like, he can just lame opponents out, and if that's all you need, then I say yes. But no, because like every warrior could do that. So, like, why pick him? Chungitador. Where would I put Chungitador? I would say right now she's like a worse Baron. Like, she does more healing than Baron, but I think Baron's more useful. I think. Well, she also applies Lotus Crown more easily, so that is a factor. And technically she's more safe with her 2, but like, all the 2 does, unless the team fight goes right for you guys, all the 2 does is get baited out. It usually doesn't amount to much, I find. Like, if a Chang'e's getting chased down, she just chooses a CC ability, and then she still gets chased down and killed. And I think the ult has a lot of potential, but sometimes it's just not all in the hand of the Chang'e player. Sometimes it's just the enemy team grouped up in a silly way and not thinking about Chang'e and got hit for it, So I'm not trying to hate on Chang'e too much, because obviously I put her all the way up here. She applies Lotus Crown to everyone and does decent damage. It's just, I think she's... Nah, actually she's at the back. A little bit worse than Cerb and Baron. And you can only play her mid, and she has to walk up to the wave in that huge lane. But I mean, if you get the late game, it's solid. So, that's cool. Chernobog. Where did I put Chernobog? it's hard to say, you know, because it's the same deal as last season, but like even worse. Like he's great late game. He's awesome late game, and his early game isn't too bad. But like there's people who do just as well, if not better, late game. Um, but then just smack him around in laning phase. The dash is really annoying. I don't like the dash. I think that's a stupid mechanic. It messes with too many abilities. I think like just completely negates some abilities. But from the eyes of a Chernobog player, if you use it correctly, then you're completely screwing over. Say if someone's trying to gank you or something like. As a Sasano player, you guys know how it is. Pull 3 a Chernobog, he just dashes into the wall and waits at your 3. It's like, well, fuck my life. And then he just ults when he comes out of the dash, and then it's like, fuck my life twice. So he can be really slippery. So that is a big plus. He is a really good carry. He's really good with the crit builds, or a pen build if you want to go that, if that's the situation. I just don't think he's above average, you know? I don't think he's better than an Honor. Don't think he's as useful as a Cabrakan. I'll put him right above a Wheelix, I'll say. I really do think he has a lot of potential. It's just like getting there type thing. Chiron, he has passive now, right? But I don't think he's worth it at all. He's just a lame version of an ability hunter, you know, with just 0 carry potential. Other than, like, if you go a trans build, which you are going to get punished for, and you don't get punished for it, great. You're also going to do a ton of damage. He's not this slow. I'll move him up in a sec. And he is safe. You know, he is really safe. Like, the dash is really annoying to deal with for a lot of characters. Like, supports and junglers alike have a hard time just like actually getting it to stop once it started. Like if he flicks you, you're not stopping it then, unless you're like Ymir and you walled off. But then the lane is so long, you could just get around most walls. So, he is really safe in that regard. But you know, I think the lack of carry potential really hurts him. I'll put him just behind Agni. I think Agni is a little bit. His utility is a little more relevant than Chiron's utilities. But Chiron's just super safe. I mean, if you want a safe character, go for Chiron, I guess. Or you can go for Neith instead. I like Neith more, because she's a girl, but that's just me. Kronos, he got changed, but I just don't see anyone trying him yet. Maybe that's yet to be seen. You know, a lot of people are on the ROM, Apollo, Cupid, hype train with the mannequin, and that's understandable. So, we just have to wait and see with Kronos. I think in that regard, I'll put him a little bit above where I would put him last season, because of course he's better. He's literally better than he was, you know what I mean? But again, you know, that dual lane is just so contested with such insane support and especially hunter options now. I'll say he's below average, just below AMC, I would say. I would still pick AMC over Kronos in most situations, unless you would like are able to see into the future and you know it's going to go hyper late game, then Kronos. But I would say it's mostly the same vibe AMC and Kronos have. Cthulhu, is he good enough to be put in S? Is my thought. He can support, but you can actually get dicked kind of hard, mostly by the OP hunters in that lane. So it's mostly solo for him. I know this doesn't seem quite right just yet, but once we get to the other solo laners, it'll make more sense, okay? So I think he's the top of A right now. I do think he's ridiculous, but he can be stopped. You can put a stop to Cthulhu. He's not as unstoppable as he once was, so that's a plus. But he is still really difficult to deal with. I mean, we can't ignore that. He is very difficult to deal with, both in and out of his ult. But I mean, you can't deny what he brings. The insane amount of CC, the crazy, otherworldly damage he brings. You know, you just can't ignore that. And and just the nonstop, like it feels like, oh, look at me, I'm so far away from Cthulhu, and then he just gets in your face and does all the CC and damage anyways, you know. Like it doesn't feel like he should be able to, but he does anyways, you know. So yeah, I think he's definitely better than Amma and Achilles, but I don't think he's gonna quite crack the S tier, at least in my opinion. Because I don't know, maybe I just have like PTSD from Release Cthulhu, because I always try and focus him out early game and just make sure he does not get his items online, you know. Cacolin. Ooh. I just gotta speak from personal experience. I'm gonna say Cacolin's the best, so far. Oh, I did mess it up, so maybe I messed up something down here by doing that. Fuck, man. Come on. Shit. Yeah, the order really matters here. God damn it. Alright, whatever. Cacolin, he was really solid towards the end of the season, last season. And that's just been amplified a billion times over. You can go like 3 or 4 different starter items depending on the matchup, and all of them work wonders on him. All of the stupid on-hit items work incredibly well on him, and he just does not die, and he does not stop one-shotting you, and he does not get off you with the frostbite. It's terrible. He is a nightmare to deal with, and if you get a Cacolin in your game and he has a pocket healer, you hear that? Those are my hands together. I'm praying for you. It is the worst feeling in the world, because there's just this guy jumping around. I jump around a lot and I like playing Cacolin, so I'm going to use myself as an example. He's just jumping around, laugh spamming all the time, and then he just 3-1s you and half your health's gone. You're like, wait, I'll punish him real quick, and then he just walks away and doesn't take any damage when you hit him with everything you have. I hate it. I hate it with a burning passion. I hate that character. I want my mom. Alright, Cupid. Another character that I just cannot stand. He's really solid early game, has a really decent late game. I think people are getting used to playing against him now, though. So I think, like, a little bit with that in mind, I won't say he's S, but I do think he is right behind Cthulhu there, I'll say. I mean, you can always pick Cupid, and it's a good time to pick Cupid, you know what I mean? Like, you'll be hard-pressed to find a truly hard counter. I mean, maybe, like, pre-level 5, there are definitely counters, like, things that work well against him, but, like, after level 5, that all is just so hard to deal with. Even with the bigger lanes now, it is still so hard to deal with. And the hearts heal so much, no matter what you build. And he's just tricky dicky, man. You know, he's like Baron in that regard. He brings the utility, but he can also hyper carry really hard. But he can hyper carry harder than Baron does as a mage, so that's why I'll put him up here. I think this was a mistake here. Yeah, I think Artemis is. Look at that! It jumped like multiple spaces. Stop, please. Is that like okay? Fine. I'll accept that. Fine. Okay. Daji. Like I want to say Daji's really good. Like the ult is insane if you think about it, but it doesn't materialize itself. You know what I mean? And you know, I was playing with a really solid Daji player. They still missed their ult. Maybe there's and you know, fine, I'll say it. In the SPL, Adapting played Daji at the. It's not midterms. It's mid-season invitational. Midterms. Or was it phase 2 playoffs? Whatever. You know, the one where he abused Daji. Even he still missed his chains. You know, he still missed his chains occasionally. Like, Guilt is genuinely difficult to use. And everyone knows how to juke around it. Like, of course, every player jukes differently, every player aims differently, so that's gonna just be dependent. But like, even if you do a full combo, like 3 auto, 1 auto, 2 chase down with that, and just force them out of the fight, she still doesn't do a great job assassinating people, you know what I mean? Like, and her CC is completely non-existent outside of her ult, you know? So it's just hard to put her. She should be really good. I just don't feel like she is. No, I mean, that was me, by the way. Sorry, guys. Hold on. But yeah, so all in all, like, gotta think. I think especially with the lanes being bigger. Yeah, and like that makes like she was already not incredible as a ganker. Like she always had to blink 100% of the time, and she couldn't gank without her ult. Like you literally just can't unless like the laners are being idiots or something. You know what I mean? You know what? I'll say in her respective role, she's a worse version of what Ares does as a support. So I'll say that. You know what I mean? I think that's fair. You know, I feel like I can pick Kama and I can pick a Wheelix, and I'll usually feel okay. But there's sometimes where I might not feel so good. But I think there's sometimes where Daji can feel fucked, like completely, like I can't do anything. So yeah, that's that. I mean, of course, if you get focused out as an assassin, you always feel that way. But I mean, Daji especially, I think, just because like, all right, I said enough already. Discordia, good question, actually. Yeah, I think honestly she's even better this season. I think the starter items are really decent for her. And she was already really solid. Her range is really good, so the bigger lanes are just fine for her. And her safety is solid. You know, it's not great, but it is solid. I mean, she gets that 3 going. She uses it correctly. She is quite safe. Uses the ult properly to peel for herself. It does work very well as a safety tool. So, um, she is just really super solid. So I think I'll put her. I do think she's above average, you know? So I'll say she's just at the back of above average for now. I'd say Chang'e has a little bit more utility going for her, unless Discordia gets like a crazy ult or something, or a crazy 2. But again, there is there is that nugget there, you know, that like she is good both in lane and in jungle in terms of fighting. So like she has prevalence in both, even though she's better in the jungle, right? Like some laners lost their prevalence in the lane, but actually Discordia really didn't because her range is so good. Erlong Shen is definitely above average. I think this character is like he's so ridiculous. They need to change his base stats or something about the dog. Something has to change about him. You know, like he just slaps like an absolute beast. He just slaps people down like it's nobody's business. You definitely, I don't think you want to play him as a soul laner, even with the abundance of new start items. I don't think he's a soul laner yet. I don't think he ever will be again. I think he's still just a jungler. In that regard, he is really solid. Like he just chases people down and just shreds everybody, and he just doesn't die because of his ult and his base stats and the fact he can build a little bit bruisery, and he'll actually still eviscerate anybody in front of him. You know, he's literally like a assassin Anubis, you know, but like with mobility. So, thinking about it, definitely above average. Say above Serb. Okay, above Artemis. Yeah, but then like Baron brings more utility. Erlong he can get a little bit of the shit on action. You know, he can get shit on a little bit. Especially if you're in a situation where you are going to get anti-healed 100% of the time, and like multiple forms of anti-heal, not just like a divine because it fit into the build well. Yeah, like you're gonna get anti-healed. The ult can actually not give you good enough return. So the damage mitigation is really solid, but sometimes you can still just get blown up, you know. But like you guys have seen it all the time in ranked and in SPL matches. Like so, he just does mink form one and then just like autos people 4 times in like half a millisecond and they're dead. It's crazy. It's insane. But like he can be shut down though, so not any higher than that. Like there are some times where you can get poopied on, where like everyone above here is like there's pretty much no situation where you can truly just get poopy doo doo done 100% of the time. I hate Fafnir like a burning passion, but like I do have to respect the fact that he's good. You know what I mean? Like the damage is really solid. The buffs are really solid. The CC lock, the CC chain lock in dragon form, ridiculous. I gotta, it's ridiculous. I gotta, gotta give props where it's due. The fact that like now that mannequin's being bought all the time, objective shred is actually becoming more and more of a factor. Fafnir fits right into that. Fits like a glove. So I gotta give props to the character as much as I dislike his stubby little gremlin ass. He'd probably kill me for saying that, right? I gotta be careful. Turn into a dragon on me. The more I think about him, he is really, really solid. But he is a little bit dependent on your team. He's a little bit more team dependent. Like, it's not just like, who we got here for supports. Actually, not too many supports placed just yet. Just more, not like the core great ones, you know what I mean? But, it does have the factor of like, okay, I stunned him at a range. Look, no, look, up there, I stunned him. Oh, he's not stunned anymore. Okay, that's fine. It's not as like easy to follow up with, and like you got to put a lot of faith in your teammates when you buff them and things like that. You just got to like trust that they know. Okay, I win any fight now. I got the Fafnir buff on me. It's fine. It does still proc item effects, right? I mean, there's always stuff you can mess around with that. Actually, I don't think it buffs item effects anymore. The Fafnir 2 is what I'm referring to. That was ridiculous. Remember when you just bought Gem on Fafnir? You buffed everyone. You slowed their whole team. That was sad. But anyways, I put him at the bottom of above average. Like he's. But it is fair to say that he doesn't bring anything extraordinary other than objective shred. Good question. Fuck. I don't know. Put him here. I'll put him just below. Since I put Gabrakan in here, I'll put Fafnir right there. How about that? I think that's fair. Well, thinking about Chernobog. Chernobog's a better all-rounder, so I'll put him... Dude, please just place him in there. Okay. Fenrir, who did get buffed. I think he suffers from the same problems as before, but I think he has a little bit more carry potential now. And I think he's really, really just like rock solid. Of course, he gets completely shut out by cripples. I mean, that's always been an issue. But then you just ult anyways, Like, okay, I didn't get my full damage off, but look at me. I could just ult right out of anything, and I'm fine. And if things get too spicy for the Pepper, he's got like a million protections in his ult, and he's just fine anyways. He's completely CC immune, so... Even so, if he bites someone and they beads it, he just dealt like 400 damage for free. So, but the thing is, though, I think about it, I'm like, oh, wait, Fenrir can get shut down so easily. But, like, I play Fenrir, though. I like Fenrir. I like playing as Fenrir. He's the fucking man, right? And, like, there's always something you can do. You can always just, focus more damage and actually just one-shot people with Brutalize, especially now that it got buffed. Or you can go into a more bruisery route and still deal a decent amount of damage, but get that ult target of yours. Or you can go full tank and still do okay damage and get the ult target. Like, there's always something you can do with Fenrir. I feel like whether you want to bring into support, which I think is going to fall. No, you know what? Actually, with Warflag, I think Fenrir support will still be decent. I don't think it'll be better. I think it'll just be decent. But if you want to go jungle with him now, jungle's a little more viable because of the sheer damage and the his ability to clear distances, especially. Like, there's just a factor. You can always build him a certain way to tailor towards whatever the situation is. I gotta give him... just above average. I'll say just barely above average, I'll say. So, I don't know. Oh, shit, I forgot. Danzaburo, yeah. So he's not on this list. I think he's on the SMITE Guru tier list, but I just couldn't link my account. I tried doing their verification method. It just didn't work. We started my game a couple times. Didn't happen. So real quick, Danzaburo, I mean, I was thinking the S tier. There should be someone up there by now, right? Yeah, Danzaburo I would put just... between Cucullin and Aphrodite, I would say. I think the character's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what they were thinking when they made that character. He got nerfed a little bit, so he's not at the, if he wasn't nerfed, he would be at the tippy top above Cucullin. But I think Danzaburo, otherwise, is just the best ADC in the game. There's just no one. No one matches that CC, that utility, that damage. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous how much they put on that character, and I don't know why they did it, and they made him super safe as well. I mean, the safety isn't like the best in the game, but it is really decent safety still. So it's depressing. I hate that character. I don't know why they made such a loaded character. Like, don't they know by now that like putting haste in on a character, putting stealth on a character, putting a unmissable slow with high damage on a character, putting a taunt on a hunter, putting a stun, a ranged stun that goes like halfway across the lane on a hunter, a stun that can make him invincible. How did they think that was a good idea? You know, I want to get into the mindset of the designers. Like, why did you think this would not be broken? How would this ever not be broken without severe nerfs? You know, I sounded angry there. Sorry, I'm not too angry. It's just a little silly, I think. So I think Freya always struggles to find her footing. She always she does still shred, like late game Freya. And I think Rod. I always teched Rod with her. I know people don't go Rod on her typically. I actually teched it on her. I think that shit's really good. Like, it's just another layer of shred on top of it. It makes you have to do like 1 auto less, and it's like 1 auto less. That's nothing. But actually, in a late game team fight, having to do 1 auto less to kill someone can actually mean everything. So I actually really think that's solid on her. She is disabled right now though, so like trying to test her is actually quite difficult. So it's really hard to say. I don't necessarily want to put her on the list, but I think I'll try and guess anyways. And just say she's at the bottom of average, I'll say. Because the safety's there. A good whoop will completely shut out a gank. Unless he beats it, of course, or like Tsukiyomi ult it, something like that. I don't know why that came to mind. I gotta get off Tsukiyomi's dick. Maybe they should nerf him a couple more times. Like 10 more times, maybe. But you know, a well-timed ult as well can save you a lot. And late game, that ult actually does like 1300 damage, so there is that. So she actually has a lot of uses. It's just that she fucking dies, you know? Like, she just fucking dies, or gets forced out extremely easily. Like, if she doesn't get the good whoop off or can't whoop in time, she has to ult and get the fuck out. Like, that's it. Yeah, I think that's a fair place for her. So Ganesh is like he's like a tricky case, you know? He's absolutely incredible, but then like useless at the same time. So he's hard to discuss because it's so matchup dependent on whether or not he'll actually be useful. I mean, the ult is always really solid. A good Ganesh ult can completely shut out a team fight, completely change the course of it. If you get into a position where you could just sit on someone with a silence, it's not only hilarious and extremely annoying for the enemy, but it does actually do work. If you get a good 3 on someone, which actually doesn't always happen in team fights, but if you get a good 3 on someone, it'll be curtains for them, because it is actually, you have to pretty much initially beads it, because if you beads it too late, even if you're still just stunned and not knocked up yet, it'll still knock you up. So there is that little bit of tech. But I do think the ult goes down a little bit. I think you could space yourself a little bit better in this duo lane than last season's. But I mean, he still has all those tools at his disposal. So it's just hard to say. Basically, I'm looking at Cerberus as where I think he would go. Is he better or worse than Cerberus? You know, yeah, I'll put him behind Chang'e, I think is fair. I don't think he's quite as good as Cerberus, just because Cerberus just has that crazy, undeniable pressure, whereas Ganesh has decent pressure, but like you can space it out, but whereas you can't really space out Cerberus unless you got like a Cupid ult or something on you. Even then, he just jumps into it and then ults you, but whatever. I digress. Yeah, you know, he's just really, you're gonna feel good almost all the time on him. He is extremely useful, extremely helpful to have in team fights. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong with him, but you can go even more right. Does that make sense? So Geb, another support. Ugh, he's just so annoying, and it's a bit like Cerberus where it's just undeniable. The Geb shield is just undeniably brutal to play around. Like, if he's Geb shielding the right person, if there's someone who's fed and just Geb shields them at the exact right moment, fuck, we can't kill him now, shit. And if he just gets a good rollout on you, it's like, oh fuck, now I'm out of the fight. Or if he gets a good cataclysm, the fight's just over. And the shockwave is a really nice poke tool. I know it got buffed as well, so his lane presence is a little more noticeable. Um, Better than Ganesh though. I wouldn't say so. I would say he's probably below Kabrak, maybe tied with Fafnir. Fafnir has more of like the damage, whereas Geb just brings the deckening with the CC. So he's probably, I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for, but I'll put I think he's a little more useful than Fafnir. I think I think a Geb shield is better than like a Fafnir buff, basically in most situations. I would say, other than when you're doing fire. But even so, hey, still protect the carry who's on the fire, so that's cool. Guan is pretty crazy. Guan, I wouldn't say he's as good as Bologna, but he's up there. Like, I I lose all hope in humanity when I watch him use his 3 on a carry. Like, it's so depressing, dude. Like, he just walks up to him like an ass and just starts 3ing him. And just go, and he's just stealing all the protection, shredding the protection so that his 2 does basically true damage. His 2 does like 400 damage if you only buy Sledge and or Itabi. It's ridiculous. This stupid, dumbass character with his dumbass 900 damage horse. I mean, if Guan ults you, and he's not just like gonna stun you immediately to set up for his mages or something, if he just sits on you with the horse, what the fuck? You lose like 3/4 of your health. It's so ridiculous. It's such a cool ability. I know it's an awesome ability, but they have to nerf that damage. It's if you use it for damage, it's just so stupid. It's so stupid, man. And I think it still stuns for 2 seconds with max passive, which you're definitely going to get because you can definitely tank all that damage and definitely get all those ticks of your own damage out there to stack up your passive. It hurts to watch Guan. It hurts to play against Guan. It feels good to play as Guan, though. So, you know, there's that. But I do think he lacks that, because I think early, he's okay. Mid, really great. Late, still great, but then he starts teetering off. You know, once you get into the hyper late game, the damage isn't quite as catastrophically apocalyptic. And I think Bologna ekes him out a little bit in that sense. Bologna can just keep forcing people out and keep high damage numbers, whereas Guan's teeters off a little bit, and he's a little bit more easy to deal with. Whereas Bologna's just more slippery. You know what I mean? So she can like get in and out of fights more easily than him. I can't. I don't know if you could tell. I'm already losing my voice. How did I do that? Is that good? Am I talking too much? I'm sorry. Hachiman, really rock solid. You know, just he's got the lane pressure. He's got decent hyper carry potential. You can be very aggressive with him. He's basically everything CERN wants to be. Like, CERN just sucks when you look at Hachiman. Hachiman looks cooler. Like, dude, come on. He's got better skins. Like, Hachiman's just better CERN knows, bro. But, you know, I do think he gets beat out. He does suffer the same problems. It's just he's a lot safer and more utilitarian than CERN knows. So there is that. But there is the fact that if you want just raw ability damage, there's better hunters for it. If you want raw hyper carry potential, there's better carries for it. If you want aggression, I mean, dude, have you seen Apollo with Mannequin Scepter? Like, you know? So there's that. But it's undeniable that he's just a rock solid pick, you know? I would say he's better than Anher, to be honest. Like, I don't know what it is about Anher, but he just falls off. He just stops dealing damage late game. Even so, if you get like a full ult, even back in the when you bought Transcendence days, the ult would still fall off late game. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know. but I'll put him. Nah, he's not better than Fenrir. This is just saying it as a point that he's better than on her. Maybe we come back to that one. You know what I mean? Like, he's better than on her, but I don't want to say he's average. I think he's above average. I'll think about it when I take a final look at the tier list. So Hades is like so weird. Like, where does this character even fit into this game anymore? Like, it's a bit like Bastet, where like the design is just so dated. You can feel how sluggish his 3 is how dated the design is. And I mean, if you get a good team fight with his ult, oh my god, he one shots everybody and it's ridiculous. But then otherwise, he just kind of potatoes out a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Of course, I think he's still solo laner first, but I mean, you can play him in mid if you want. It's just I don't see where he fits in, ever. You know, other than getting a good ult off, because your team has already done all the work and you just blink and then press 4. Maybe you press 2 as well. That'd be cool. That'd be nice of you. Press 2. But I think it's just like a blink ult fest with him. And like everyone is going to point out the Hades is right there. This is where he can ult. Don't walk in there. So, and everyone's going to be aware of that. Everyone knows what Hades does. Hades has a very simple game plan. So in that sense, I think they want to keep the ult, right? But they got to change like how slow the dash is, and how slow the 3 is. The 2 is cool. I like the 2. It's just this massive fear cone in front of him. That's neat. But I think they just need to speed up the 1 and the 3, and he'd feel a lot better. But then he might actually be OP, because he actually does a trillion damage. So it's just like, what the fuck? Like, he does, like, the thing is, he does deal damage. His CC is okay. And his survivability is actually, it is decent in the ult now. Now that he gets 100 protections. Jesus. And he can actually Thorns bait. I know Thorns got nerfed, so maybe you don't do that anymore. Oh, shit. I'll say he's better than Arachne, I'll say he's better than Arachne. Well, nah, because the thing is, you can set up wins with Arachne. I feel like you can't set up wins with Hades. Like, Hades is just so reliant on your team plays it perfectly, then you just blink in and ult. You're like, haha, I am helpful. Hebo does a lot of damage, and he really likes Rod. You know, it's like a, you know, it's his preference. He likes Rod. He's also really good with Rod of Tahuti. So that being buffed is actually a big benefit to him. So let's see. It's just, I remember PTS was a Grandmasters player. I think he may have been on console though, so take that with a grain of salt. It was a GM player, got really fed with Hebo. But the thing is, we kept on digging on him. Like, he would almost one-shot all of us. But then we would just turn and kill him. And that was because they put all their eggs in one basket. You know, it was just a Hebo that was really fed. The rest of their team wasn't too fed. But I think you can deal with him. He's just so annoying. Like, the 2 is so annoying, and the 3 is so hard to react to in time. You know, get your beads or your CC immune ult off in time. It's so difficult to react to, and it just sends you flying, and it feels like you're out of control. It sucks to play against. But you can deal with him. So I think with that caveat, we have to say that, you know, since he is lacking in utility, unless you get a really nice 3 or a really nice blink ult or a carpet saves your whole team, it's just hard to justify putting him in above average. But the damage is ridiculous. You know, if this was dual S tier, easy tippy top, but it's not. You know, it is a team game. You can get caught out really easily. I mean, all the assassins that are in the game right now. You know, you look at Sasano, Tsukuyomi, even Daji, who I shit on a little bit, I know, Wheelix. If they just catch him, it's over. He has to burn his ult. And if he burns his ult on the assassin, okay. I mean, you're useless in the fight now unless you get a very, very effective 3-1 or just get a really good positioning. So, the damage is really undeniable, though, you know. I say he's a little bit better than Hachi. Because you can actually pick him and feel good most of the time. He is actually relatively safe. It's just because you can burn the ult early. That's okay. But you just can't burn that ult late game, and I think that makes him struggle a little bit. Hell, I don't think Hell's S tier, actually, you know? I think she's really solid, but not quite S. I'll put her just behind Cupid here. I think she actually does have a lot of flaws. Her range is actually really solid. If she's just throwing out her dark and light ones over and over again, and of course with Lotus Crown is ridiculous on her. She's probably the best Lotus Crown abuser, like purely speaking on Lotus Crown. So, you know, with all that in mind, but it's just like she does do really decent damage. If she gets like both her ones and her dark 3 on someone, she'll kill them. But like the thing is, unless she's very fed, all she can do is chunk. She can't quite kill. So she needs multiple rotations of abilities. Lotus Crown, of course, makes that possible. It makes her very, like her survivability just goes up immensely. But being wary of that, if you're able to apply enough pressure on her early, it can actually really dampen her effect. Or if, say, you have an Aphrodite or even a Changawati, who I've put down here, but still, if you're able to match that sort of sustain, or you're able to just kill her through it, it could be a big problem for her. And I don't think Aphrodite suffers with that, like, at all, and that's why she's S tier. Or at the very least, she saves herself from all that shit. And then Chang'e is just she just doesn't have the damage to deal with Hell, and of course the cleanse is crazy. Cleanse is crazy if used correctly, if coordinated properly. You know, so you got to keep that in mind as well. And the slow's actually decent. You don't want to throw out the slow too often, but the slow actually does work. It does work, honestly, in team fights. So Heimdall, the curious case of Heimdall, you know? Like, he was just apocalyptically busted, and then he got nerfed a few times, and he just sort of teetered off, but he never really fully went away. And I think he's still a really great character. I mean, the ult's not like a guaranteed one-shot anymore, and he can't just like do crazy, crazy pen builds anymore. You'll get punished for doing that. But it's really undeniable the amount of pressure he brings. I don't think he's a... Oh my god, I forgot the name. I've been saying it all week. Mannequin Scepter. I don't think he's a Mannequin Scepter abuser necessarily. Well, he does do AoE. He can actually AoE the minions with it. That'd be cool. But I think he maybe wants like a Death's Toll, maybe. Maybe that'd be cool on him. Let me think. He's definitely better than Hachiman, no doubt. You know, I think Heimdall is still really good. I think he really can pull through for you. Early, mid, and late game, he's solid through it all. Honestly, his self peel is decent. I'm looking at Artemis right now for what's it called, like a way to weigh Heimdall in. I'll say Heimdall is just below Cerberus and Artemis. I'll say they do his job a little bit better. Hera really fell out of favor. Like Dardis picked her up, and then she got nerfed. I think, right? Yeah, she got nerfed. She still does put in the work though. She can eviscerate someone, but I think the lanes being bigger has really messed with her game plan. She really has to walk up very far in order to clear the waves, and that could just leave her a sitting duck, which is either, you know, if we're talking about characters I mentioned who have a little bit more trouble ganking this season, like a Wheelix or Camazotz, not exactly a huge deal, but then characters who can clear that gap, like Thor, Susanoo, they just bring the clap, essentially. They can clap her pretty bad. And the shield isn't that crazy either. The thing is, all you have to do is bait out Argus, bait out the shield, and then team fight immediately right after that. And she has a really hard time dealing with it unless she gets a really nice polymorph, I would say. So I think that it's tricky. It's tricky for Hera. It's harder than a lot of people would think, given that she was top pick for a little while there. But she really does get punished hard. I think people looked at the shield and the move speed it gives, and they're like, oh, she's safe. She's really not, though. So. And playing around her too is a little difficult because the hitbox isn't quite literal. It's a very flashy ability, in all honesty. But you can actually play against it. I remember I had a pretty cool clip where I 3'd through a Sasano 3'd through a Hera too, which was cool. Yeah, basically what I'm trying to say, not trying to flex, I'm just saying you can play around that polymorph, and when you do, Hera can really get shit on. So I will say she's definitely an average. Her damage is crazy. Can't deny that. And the shield is nice. It does give her a bit of safety. But I'll still say she's worse than Anubis. But not worse than CERN. I wouldn't say she's worse. I won't do that to Hera. I like her, so. So, Hercules kind of fell off the map, dude. Like, I think people got used to playing against him, and then he just stopped getting picked. But I think he's still really solid, and Catechus Shield being picked up more and more often works really well on him. To be honest, he actually can play through quite a bit of anti-heal. He's not unkillable, but he is actually very difficult to kill. If you just watch a Hercules getting picked, and you just think to yourself, what if that's Terra or Cerberus? They're probably dying. They're probably getting some damage out, but they're probably dying there, and the Herc just doesn't. Like, the Herc's 2 and his 1, the 2-1 combo, the classic. I mean, it's been around for ages, like 7 years or something now. It's still ridiculous, though, you know? It's still a really solid CC combo. And even if you just get a blink push, it's honestly hard to react to. Like, you have to preemptively beads it, and if the Hercules player knows that, they're just going to blink and then wait out your beads. And then even if, like, you pull some slick shit and you still get away from him, he still got your beads at the end of the day. So there's just that dread with his 2-1, especially his 1, that, like, you have to answer that. You know, it's like a Cerberus. Like, you have to answer Cerb 1 and Cerb 2. You know, like, you have to deal with that. You can't just ignore it. And so, with the same thing with Herc, you got to really space yourself and really watch your health bar, because he'll delete it himself. He doesn't need anyone. He'll delete it himself. I think the power nerf was a really good move. I think that was really a big problem because, like, his 2 and his 1, yeah, they do a lot of damage. But actually, what you would see is just Herc's running people down with full power passive on and autoing for like 70 or 80 at like level 5. It's like, that's not proper. I don't like that. So that was a big problem. So it actually did help a lot. And of course, you know, 30 extra power on his 100% scaling. It's actually not that much damage extra, you know, making it 830 instead of 800. I know it can make a difference, but like it's just the sheer fact that he has those base stats of 800, 395, and 300 for his 2, I think, is something like that. It's just those crazy high base numbers really do put him a cut above the rest, and his survivability is really decent, but everyone does know how to play against him. So I'll say Herc is like speaking purely on support. I don't think he's really a solo laner anymore. You can definitely take him solo lane and feel okay. It's just I think there are just better solo laners. But so as a support, say he's a little bit lower than Ganesh, but I'll say I'd say he's a little above Fenrir. He kind of does Fenrir stuff, to be honest. Thinking about it, you know, just huge damage bruiser with really solid CC that can catch an enemy out and 4 speeds, things like that. So I say he's a little bit more of a solid Fenrir, basically. And Horus also fell off the face of the earth. But he didn't really get nerfs. He just sort of fell out of favor. I think purely people learned how to play around his 2, like play around the range and know how to juke it. Just make sure he doesn't get any. If a Horus is in your face, get out. Go. Don't fuck around. Go. And then once you get at range, it's fine, actually. Horus actually isn't too hard to deal with. But the thing is, you know, he is a tank. That tank's kind of OP in SMITE. So he is going to get in your face eventually. So, you know, whether that be through a blink or he just ults in or he sprints in, something like that. He's going to get in your face eventually. And, you know, he is going to be able to predict your juke with this too. You know, you're not going to dodge it 100% of the time. And when you do, you're going to be eating a really hardy combo. A lot of damage, a lot of CC, probably going to get blown up. But it's like, it's just not as fast. It's not as impactful. It's just more damaging, I would say, than other supports. So I think Horus is still a really solid pick. It's just like, why pick him? Why pick him? There you go. That's my answer. But no, I'll put him. I'll think about. I would say he's better than Dodgy, better than the Ares. Yeah, I'll put him between RTO and Ares. I think is a fair place for him. The healing's solid too. It's okay. It is a scaling heal, scales with power, and of course you're probably gonna grab Catechus on him as well. So that's nice, but it isn't the biggest heal in the world, and you got to make sure all your teammates group up. Teammates don't like doing that Smite, by the way. I don't know if you guys play Smite, but yeah, they don't like that. I don't know why. So Ho Yi, I love Ho Yi. That's my boy right there. I don't even know any bounces, but like I play him anyways. I don't care. Like he's extremely oppressive. Like once you put your 2 on someone, physically they cannot walk up. They cannot walk up to you. Hunters suck dick at killing tanks, and I fucking hate that in Smite. Okay, it's been that way for like 3 seasons, and I'm sick of it. But Ho Yi, once he gets the 2 on someone, he can do damage. How many do? You press left click it, they take damage. It's so cool. I didn't even know that was a thing until I played Ho Yi. It was so nice. But especially with Xe being buffed, I actually haven't seen Xe too much, but I think Xe's really good on him just because his attack speed's so slow. I don't think you can afford to go dominance, as cool as that item is. I don't think you can afford to not have a shit ton of attack speed items on Ho Yi. So I think that actually really works on his favor. Just the fact that he's just a fucking shredder, you know, he's fucking shreds. And the ult is a bit less impactful because the lanes. I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry. The ult is a bit less impactful because the lanes are so big, but there is still the factor of when you fight in the jungle, you can't do shit because he's either going to zone you with that ult or he's going to put it on whatever objective you're doing, and he's just going to fucking take it with it. And it's hard to deal with. It is really hard to deal with, but the dive bomb, really not very safe. It's not a very safe hunter escape. You can get dicked pretty easily. You got to really be unpredictable with it. You can't go immediately because they're going to just follow you. They're going to look at where you are in the sky and just follow you. You can't hold it for too long because they're just going to be like, they're going to get the binoculars out. They're going to be like, my cooldowns are coming back up, sir. I'll come down whenever you'd like. And then they just, they shit on you afterwards. A bit like Wukong in that way, you know, you can't go too early, can't go too late. You got to be crafty with that, but even so, you can still get shit on. The bounces are cool, but they're not always super applicable. You know, it's more of like a niche thing that comes up occasionally. So it's hard to say. He's a mixed bag in that regard. But honestly, I pick Ho Yi pretty often when we need a hunter. He feels good. He feels good, and I think he doesn't really benefit from too many changes in Season 8. You know, I think he's still mostly in the same place other than that Xe buff I talked about, or the fact that he's anti-crit, and maybe crit will be making a comeback. So I think he's a little more solid than Hachiman, a little less risky than Hebo. Does his damage and utility make up for his lack of utility in comparison to Fenrir? I'll say he's below Fenrir. I'll say that. Just because the dive bomb is so unsafe, I'll say that. Hunbat's, it's another weird case. Like, he should dick everything on the map. That is incredible on paper. And then you get into a match, and it just doesn't pan out that way unless it goes exactly right. And they just don't see you coming. They have their beads down. Then it'll work. But then you're an assassin who's a beads burner, and you want it the other way around. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want your supports and warriors to be getting those relic cooled. They're called actives now, right? Or are they called relics? The relics, right? Yeah. You get those relic cooldowns. They get the ability cooldowns for you. But it's like everyone kind of looks to you as Hunbats as the engager, and you're like, no, I'm secondary engage. But then like the primary engage doesn't quite get what you need to to get in there and be a good Hunbats, and the damage just isn't all there unless you get right in their face and get all those AA cancels in. So it's tricky, right? Right? Like Hunbats should be so good, but he just isn't. And I think this season is a little tough for him because the lanes are so big and ganking is a little more difficult, as I've mentioned about 100 times. Hmm. I will say Hunbats. I would say Daji's a little better than him. I would say. Like, obviously, Daji, you have to aim it. Hunbats, you plop it on the floor. I would say he's worse than Cernanos. Because Cernanos is a little more versatile in that sense. Hunbats actually isn't that safe unless you get like a jump over a wall, because he has no CC immunity whatsoever. So he has to go Magi's or something, maybe go a bruiser item like Sledge or Blackthorn, something like that. So maybe his damage actually isn't all that where you want it to be. So I mean, Jotun's being buffed is cool for him. So that does amplify him a little bit, but it amplifies everyone around him too. You know what I mean? So like he doesn't necessarily gain more points because everyone else gained more points. You know what I mean? It's like a not diminishing returns. But you guys get what I'm saying. Isis. Why don't they have the new Isis picture? It's so pretty. Whatever. Isis. I feel like she's another one of those why would you even pick me kind of characters. Like, she's solid. She does okay damage. Spirit Ball especially. Oh my god, it's not Spirit of Light. What's it called? Circle of Protection is what it's called. Circle of Protection is great on objectives. She has that amazing skin. I have to bring it up. She has the really pretty Twilight skin and the really pretty green skin. Hey, skins make you play better. It's a conscious fact. I don't know how that's different from a regular fact, but it's true. So she has some of the best skins. That helps. But, like, her damage is a little bit less than everyone else. Her CC is really solid, but not the best. And her safety is very low. So, I think just for every mage that comes out, Isis just looks worse. You know what I mean? Like, how is Discordia worse than her? Ever? How? Help me out. How? What does Discordia do that Isis doesn't? I guess a bit more utility with the Circle of Protections and the HP5 and MP5. But would you rather have that or fucking live? you know? I would say she's probably better than Hades. Better than Arachne. But not better than Chiron, I would say. It's just you're playing an unsafe character for no good reason. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like. Izanami's a weird one. Like, she should be fucking nuts. Like, the autos should give you great lane pressure, but they don't. You gotta walk all the way up. So then you just use her 2, but then her 2 is her only form of CC outside of her ult. Her 1 should be a great steroid, but then you lose the effect of your passive autos that actually do more damage overall if you hit both. So it's like a constant give and take with her, and no CC immunity on a character with a low startup dash, which can in some cases actually be quite predictable. You can just use an AoE ability around where you think she landed, or place a tick ability on her before you do anything else, and you can suss her out that way as well. So it's just like, it's just hard. It's not one of those ones that's hard to justify playing as her, but the benefits are a bit higher. She's not an Apollo, she's not a Rom, she's not a Cupid, but I would say she's better than a Cern, and she's safer than a Hera, but doesn't quite give the same potential as an Anubis. So I'll put her here. I wish I could put her higher, honestly. I know my friend Alex just loves Izanami, and I don't blame him. It's just it doesn't work. Ah, shit. Okay, guys, we're here. Hold on. Let me stop the music real quick. Bum. Ba-da-dum bum 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 bum. Ba-da-dum bum 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 bum. Why the fuck is this in the game? Holy shit. Tippy top? Maybe. I don't know what Hi-Res Studios was thinking, but here we are. It's 2021. Giannis is meta again. I hate my fucking life. This is such a stupid design decision. I don't understand the thought process here. So they made his 2 easier to hit, and then they figured, oh, I know, let's make it so his ult can only do 75% of the damage to the person's health. It doesn't account for Soul Reaver, Soul Gem, Conduit Gem, or the upgraded version of that does a lot more damage. Or his passive. It was so smart. Fucking dude, like, it does not make sense. Okay? If someone gets hit by Giannis ult at any point, he's going Conduit Gem, by the way, he is. Yeah, they're fucked. They have to get out of the fight. It doesn't matter that it doesn't well, okay. It matters a little bit that it doesn't one-shot them anymore. I mean, let's be real. Conduit Gem, Soul Reaver, or even the upgraded Conduit Gem, and his passive is probably not going to make up the extra 25%, but it's still the fucking fact that he probably just YOLO'd that ult because they figured they didn't need it in that fight, and he took someone out of the fight completely. Like, and now they can just force whatever it is they were trying to do, a tower, an objective. You didn't fix that. And now what you've done with Giannis, the best utility mage, like, he has the best utility out of any mage, apart from maybe Aphrodite in terms of, like, abusing Lotus Crown, giving move speed, giving heals, things like that. He gives his whole team move speed, gives his whole team transportation throughout the entire big-ass map, and the trade-off before was he had a ability that was not only difficult to hit, but it was actually skillful for both the Giannis player and the person who was aimed at to try and play against. And then they just made it fucking hit every time. You just have to stay out of the complete range of it, which was actually very wide, not wide, very long to make up for the fact that it was difficult to hit. So it had to give a good range to it. But now it just takes up a huge block in front of Giannis that he says, you can't go here at all. And as a matter of fact, if I YOLO portal in, I can't fuck myself by being spaced in properly. If I space myself like an idiot, like a complete moron, I still almost one hit every carry if I have my on-hit items ready, as well as my passive, which will definitely be up and is going to do an additional 15% magical damage to you, okay? 15% of my magical power to you. And Rod's in the meta too, so, you know, once the first part of my 2 knocks your health down to below 60%, the items are actually going to hit you for even more, by the way, just so you know. It's moronic. It's completely moronic, and I hate it. I am glad that they cleaned up his portal a little bit. That's cool. I don't care. They're idiots for doing this to this character. Like, the point was that his main damage source was extremely skillful on both the Giannis player and the person it was aimed at. And you took that completely out. So now it's just some brain dead utility mage with 1 trillion damage. I hate it with a burning passion. I don't. It was cool. Giannis was cool. It was cool to see a good Giannis who could space his 2 properly. You know, make sure, you know, maybe you don't get the optimal both hits, but you get like one side hit because you arced it properly. You know, you knew the arc was going to go that way, so you aimed yourself a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. Oh, it's so cool. Doesn't matter now. I hate it. Fuck you. Music's back on. God damn it. I'm not actually like sad or that mad. So my voice is definitely going. So I've been talking for like 2 hours. But Jingwei, she's just like really hard to put down, you know? Like, she's just so unbelievably safe. Like, unbelievably safe. And like, she gets those random crits. You can honestly go a crit build on Jing, and I think it's solid. The general consensus is go Pen. But I gotta be real with you guys. I've been playing a few hunters. It doesn't matter. Like, the tanks are just so ridiculously crazy with all these auras on them. If they get a Lotus Crown on them, especially, I feel like it just doesn't matter. Just fuck it. Like, just don't even try and kill these crazy tanks if you're not ahead, you know. So I figure like a crit build might be viable because Rage got buffed, Wind Demon got buffed a little while ago, Deathbringer got buffed. So perhaps that is the way, and I think with Jingwei you 100% want it because of her 2, of course. So then you just have this dichotomy of a very, let's be honest, she is a very easy character, a character who is extremely safe as well, but also goes to Pound Town, you know? Like, she's not the best hyper carry in the game, but she is a really solid character, I think. So I think that would put her just below Ganesh, I would say. Just below Ganesh is fair. Good? Good. Alright. I'm dying, by the way. Yorm. Yeah. Yeah. The more time that passes, the more Yorm seems like a why bother kind of character. If you're like a genius, if you're like Nika or something, and you're like a genius with aiming the ult properly, more power to you. But a lot of people know how to deal with Yorm. They know how to look at how Yorm is coming at them and how that will actually translate to where he's going to go on the ground before the ground indicators even come up. Things like that. So that takes a lot out of takes a lot of the wind out of his sails, and like the fact that you can't knock him up, it matters less and less every day. Like people just use non-necessitated knockups on him to get that passive going, and then they just eviscerate him. If you don't know what I mean, it's the passive is he can't be knocked up, but he takes damage, extra damage if he's been knocked up recently, like a knockup has been used on him. So they use like non-necessary knockups on him just to get that going, and then just shred right through him. He can do work, like in the early game, like because he does do a shit ton of damage. But it's like, why even bother with this character? Like, dude, have you seen the warriors in this game? Some of the other guardians you might want to pick up in the soul lane, like a Sobek or an RTO, or even a Terra. Like, they're crazy. And Yorm is just there like, I do damage and I slow you. Is that good? That's not how Yorm sounds. Like, I can't do the Yorm voice, but I'll try. I'm gonna slow you and then knock you up. That didn't work. But I'm gonna go ahead and put him in below average. He's not terrible. I would say he's below Chiron, I would say. Because Chiron's not nuts, right? But like he is safe, and he can do decently with him. With Yorm, you can just get dicked. Like an Isis, right? Like you can with Yorm and Isis both, like you can pull off some cool shit, but it's like there's a good chance you're gonna get dicked too. So Kali is actually really interesting. I think Mannequin Kali is the way. I played her a few times. Once in PTS, twice in normal, I think, right? And Mannequin Kali's the one, dude. Like her hit chain is actually a speed hit chain, so you actually do more autos in the same amount of time as someone else, if that makes sense. But it evens out because she does less damage with the second two hits. You guys probably know how that works. But that means she actually stacks Mannequin, and that's why Kins is so good on her too. But she stacks Mannequin quicker than anybody else. And actually, I find like just going extra mana pots, because she actually has decent healing with her jump and her lifesteal on her too. So I find just being super aggressive, like with like a Blink Collie with boots, it actually does work. Like you just use the pure Mannequin damage. I was at a mid camp against who was it? Raven. It was a Raven. I just ran his ass down. Like I didn't give a fuck. Like it was like, you're next, because he's using like the wrestler skin, right? And so he 3'd and he 2'd me. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so scared. Cap. I auto 2'd him. Health was starting to diminish, and I was like, I think I win this, pal. Autoed him like 3 more times. Mannequin did the rest. He was dead. Like there's just nothing you can do about it. It's like Kali doesn't have a bad early game with Mannequin Scepter anymore, And the thing is, her early game wasn't actually that bad. People are like, oh, Kali's early game's so bad, but she's such a good late game carry. It's crazy. But like her early game isn't that bad. She has a really instant, not really instant, but a really fast stun, a really solid leap, and a very damaging ability in Lash, as well as a really good hit chain if you space it correctly. With the speed buff, you can really stick onto people even early. And like people were just like, oh, she's so bad early, but she's so good late. Like she is still really good late, but she's not that bad early. Stop saying that, dude. Oh, I think she's actually above average right now with Mannequin, and then when Mannequin gets nerfed, which it will, I think she'll actually still be solid. She's definitely a sleeper pick, I think. And the thing is, she doesn't even need to get like a pentakill every game. She can genuinely just poke people out and like just be a nuisance in the backline with her ult and just do a shit ton of damage. Looking at utility characters, in terms of hyper carriness, put her probably safely between Chang'e and Ganesh, I would say. Seriously, guys, play some Kali. Like, she's actually good. I'm not capping. Khepri. Everyone hates playing against Khepri. Fuck that character. But he is really good. For the most part. The thing is, though, he just gets caught just too easily, I think. I mean, in coordinated play, we see Khepri get picked up a lot more. I just... like, the ult's... Yeah, the ult's hard to deal with, especially if it's used optimally. And, when it's used optimally, it's so hard to deal with. But... the thing is, the character of Khepri himself, he just gets shit on, like, hard. Like, you can really catch that character, and it's not even funny. Well, it is kind of funny. I like watching Khepri die. But, you know, like, the thing is, the pull, if you get a really good pull, the root, if you get a good root, it's undeniable. They are very good abilities. But his 2 has been nerfed so much that ability is kind of a non-factor at this point. Not necessarily, like, you could just completely ignore it. Just walk right into a Khepri 2, do it. But like it isn't all it was, you know. So like if his 3 isn't used properly or his 1 is used unsafely, he gets killed instantly. If he uses the ult on himself, it's worthless. It's not good, you know. Like getting a Khepri back to die again, wonderful. So in that sense, I think he's worse than Geb for just like sheer crowd control in a team fight and saving teammates as well. So I'm thinking probably, definitely an average, I would say, because he like that ult's nuts. We can't deny that ult, but everything else about him's kind of rough. I'll say above Hera, just above Hera. King Arthur though, just dude a nut on your face. Sorry, I need to stop saying stuff like. I'm sorry, but yeah, King Arthur's pretty nuts right now. Thank God, though. I mean, I love this character. I know he's so annoying to deal with, but he's so fun. Like, for all the shit, like, Hires gets for modern characters being bloated, they are pretty fun, and King Arthur's a great example. Like, he's just, there's so many things you could do with that character. It's so unique and fun to use, and kind of OP right now, to be honest. I will put him, I think, at the bottom of S, though, you know? Like, I think Guan and Bellona... Well, Guan's utility is better, and I think Bellona's damage is a bit more easily accessible. I mean, if King Arthur is allowed to do his thing, he will fuck everyone, like, in the face. So long as they're consenting, of course. But, sorry, I need to stop talking like that. I'm weird. But yeah, he does do work. Seriously, he does do a lot of work. But he can get shut out pretty easily. I think shut out, well, no, not easily, because he can really just plow through a lot of the things that shut him out. Like, say, he's got like an RTO cripple or a Ganesh silence just sitting on him. He can actually plow through it pretty easily. But it's just, you know, if you get a barrage of things stopping you from doing your combos, then you're going to have a hard time. But for the most part, I mean, lane pressure is really solid. If he makes a good early mid rotation, which is actually more difficult on this map, but if you do pull one off, seeing a King Arthur in mid lane is like the scariest thing. Like, like level 8 and onwards, you know, things like that. So Kukulkan, it's hard to say, right? Like, dude, if you hit your ult, you're cooking. Like, Kukulkan's awesome. Wow, this character's great. But if you miss your ult, this character's terrible. What the fuck? So I don't like him in that aspect, you know what I mean? Like, not even Scylla and Vulcan suffer quite as badly, you know? The tornado spacing in the jungle is really solid, but it's just something you put on minions when you're in the laning phase. And his 1 doesn't come up too often unless you really get a good position on somebody, and you get him by surprise, you get a good 1-3 on, then they're out of the fight for good, pretty much. And if you have Poly, which did get buffed, if you get Poly and you 1 auto 3, goodbye, bye-bye. You don't need the ult for that, but, you know, is that going to happen realistically? Probably not. But, you know, you can't deny that safety that the 2 gives him. So it's so hard to say, like, is this guy worth it or not? I don't quite, you can't quite tell, you know? But I do think that if you're mindful of the enemy jungler, I think he actually stands a really decent chance in Season 8 with the bigger lane It's just the characters that I always shit on him. I've said them about 5 times. I'll say them again. Characters like Suk, Sasano, the guys that shit on mid laners, basically. Um, they'll still shit on him pretty badly, but I think he stands a decent chance this season of being just okay. So I think he is an average tier. I will say he's an average tier, but not as good as Anubis. I think Anubis brings a little bit more, just because he's got the pure shred, and just in terms of raw damage, and it's just more easily applicable. Not quite as good as Hera. Again, more easily applicable damage. I'd say like level pegging with Hunbats is actually a good way of saying it. So I'll say like there. Is that a good Hunbats ult can do more than a good Kukulkan ult, but like a good Kukulkan ult can also take out 2 carries at once. Kumba, I think, suffers a lot of the same stuff as Bacchus, where it's just like he's so sluggish when compared to other supports, i.e. this guy that I'm mousing over. A hint, hint. You probably know where he's going. I think Kumba's just crazy when it comes to what he's able to do CC-wise. But the thing is, like, it's another one of those Humbats ones where it's like, on paper, whoa, I'm locking people down for like 10 seconds straight. I'm crazy. But then your Mez gets interrupted, then your Q gets interrupted 3 times on the trot, and then they beads your ult because they saw it coming from a mile away. I mean, it can be difficult to play Kumba, to say the least. And he's just so sluggish. It's hard to really justify him. I think he's better than Bacchus, solely for the fact that ult is just great. You know, if you get a good Kumba ult, it's curtains. You know, and it can be hard to react to. And I mean, if they don't have beads, good night, sweet prince, or whatever the phraseology is. So just for that ult alone, I say he's better than Bacchus. I'll say he's better than Yorm too, to be honest. The damage is actually pretty nice. It's actually got some pretty nice damage on Kumba. So then Kuzenbo. Sorry, I'm actually dying. So Kuzen's definitely above average. I don't know if he's exactly S. You know, with the wider lanes, the Kappa does lose a little bit of flair because you can't exactly ricochet him quite as easily. And you can't exactly get the best. It's not super easy to get a good line on like a blink push anymore. So I think he's down a peg from where he was, but he's still crazy. I mean, he's still Kuzenbo. He's still the guy that's reflecting 700 damage back at you while dealing 500 of his own. It's like he's extremely hard and annoying to deal with. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's bad. It just means he's annoying. I will say he's better than Ama. Yeah, the thing is, in good matchups, like if it's a good game to be Hell's better, right? But like it's a good game to be Kuzenbo more often than it's a good game to be Hell. So, oh hey, here we go. Stop the music again. So I made a video about the Loki rework when it was first coming out. I was dead on. I'll be honest. You guys know me. I don't brag. I was dead on. The 2 and the 3 make no sense. They're horrible. They're horrible abilities. I hate them with a burning passion. And the one change was great. The ult change was a lot better than I was expecting. I think it's actually a lot more fair now. I do like how that turned out. But the 2 and the 3 are just, it's horrendous. It's horrendous to try and play around. It's completely unfun. They completely failed in preserving what the character was all about. And they made a character that was just as annoying, in all honesty. And I think this was a complete failure of a rework, and I'm just very disappointed in them. But it does actually put in some work. I can't lie. I don't care if he's S plus tier. It's still a shit rework. I don't think it was a good idea, because now what people are doing. So guys, got it. Okay, so there's this really annoying squishy guy who just goes into solo lane, clears waves. Really annoying, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make a character who's actually a really good bruiser, who has invisibility, a blind, a slow, a cripple, and a stun. That sound like fun? Like, dude, it's not fun to play against. Again, like Kuzenbo, that doesn't mean it's bad, but it's just a failure of a rework, and I hate it. You know, it doesn't feel like I'm playing Loki anymore. It feels like I'm playing an alpha version of a bad character. You know, sorry. I sound really mad, but it's just like, well, Loki's not in the game anymore. There's some asshole flipping his knives around like an idiot, um, in his place. You know, it feels like I was cheated out of a character, a classic character. You know, I really liked his remodel too back in season 3. Thought it brought a lot of flair to his kind of stiff design of the first Loki, and then now it's just all gone. You know, I kind of just placed him here randomly, but I actually kind of agree. Shit, I actually kind of like that. Uh, Let me think. I'll say he's the top of below average, cause like it can be so hard to deal with, dude. Like, oh my god. Like, a good bruiser Loki could, oh my god, he could just shut out an entire backline. It's so annoying. But I think he actually is a little bit better than Athena in that regard, in terms of like just trying to shut out squishies. You know what I mean? I'll put him there. Still hate him. Music back on, please. Thank you. Medusa. So they buffed Medusa. So here's one that actually didn't get OP with items. Medusa. You'd think, like, with her 1, like, they made her 1 actually usable now. It's actually a really solid steroid. But they buffed her 2, like, 4 times, and it does no damage still. You know, it just doesn't clear minions. I like the idea of what they're going for with Acid Spray. But I think it's time to just lower that cone, so that you can't just, like, line it up to spray on people, and people just back up and let you do the spray anyways because it doesn't clear the wave. So they just wait it out and then clear the wave afterwards. You know, like, it's time to just let go of that idea and just give Medusa an actual lane clear ability, because she'll actually be decent then. You know, it can still spray off stuff. Just make it not a wide cone, so it's not completely oppressive in lane, or completely useless at clearing clearing minions like it is right now. I love Medusa. She's probably my favorite hunter apart from Hou Yi. Just because she's so crazy aggressive and her ult is really fun, things like that. But like, dude, the 2 is just it's not working. You know, they need to change that, and I think she'd be a solid ability hunter if they did that. So let's place her somewhere. I feel like Izza is a better carry than her, and her clear is just as good, I would say. And they're just as safe because, like, Izanami Dash can get stopped, but so can Medusa's, and Medusa's can even be body blocked, which is really unfortunate. Medusa's ult is more explosive, and it is a little harder to deal with than Izza ult, so there's that. But the thing, I mean, Medusa's actually got some hyper carry in her. Because, like, if she gets the 4 stim autos in, but if she doesn't, she's fucked. That's true. She's definitely worse than Hera. Not worse than CERN. I would rather castrate myself than say CERN's better. You know, I'll say Hunbat's. Hunbat's is a little bit better than Hera, and then Medusa is just below Hera. And Kukulkan's a little better than CERN, I'll say. I'll put that there. Alright, that makes more sense to me. Mercury is still in a weird spot, you know? Another one of those gods that should be awesome. The guild's just so cool. It goes halfway across the map and you just stun everyone in your path. I know they get spun wrap, but you know what I mean. You CC everyone in the path. And the dash is really good. CC, you know, pushes people into, like, during laning, you push the mid laner into the other mid laner. Late game, you one-shot people. It just doesn't always come together, though, and, like, they gotta do something about his early game. It's so atrocious. You know, when people talk about bad early games, Kali's early game's not bad. Mercury's is. It's abysmal. Like, I can't even put into words how bad his early game is. I mean, if you really stick to someone with your 2 on, sure, he can put out a bit of damage, but it's nothing compared to the other junglers if they're able to do the same thing. If they have the same opportunity to get in someone's face like that, you know what I mean? The late game is really explosive, but I don't know if that's worth it, you know? Because there's other junglers. If you want a late game jungler, you got Kali, You got Sasano, you got Tsukiyomi, even Serket if you want to flex Serket, that could work too. Naja. Mercury is really fun, you know, that's undeniable. But I don't know if he's just good. You know what I mean? So I say he's below average. Same issue as Ao Kwang, honestly. But Mercury's got more utility. I'll put him in between AMC and Chronos, I would say. Merlin. Another curious case. Merlin's been good since he came out, right? That was what, season 5? We're in season 8. He was like the second character, I think. So it's almost been 3 years of this character being meta. I'm actually not tired of him. You know, he feels, honestly, now he feels pretty fair to play against now that Gem is gone. I mean, if you get full fire stance, yeah, that can feel pretty unfair, and you can't if you're unable to stop it, that can suck. But like, he feels pretty fair for the most part, and in some ways that is his downfall. He doesn't have the crazy one-shot capability. He doesn't have the absolutely wild CC capabilities of some of the other mages. But it's undeniable what he brings. He brings that really solid damage, that solid CC, that solid zoning. You know, is not the best, but it is really solid, and the safeties, new word here, solid. So, definitely better than Hebo. A little better than Discordia. Better than Shanga, I wouldn't say so. Does he do his job better than Ganesh does? I think he's more versatile than Ganesh in more matchups, you know? So I'll say a little bit better than Ganesh. But then Kali, I think, even though Kali has more opportunities to get screwed over, I think she's still solid. More solid than him. Or is she? Better than Shanga? Honestly, yeah. You know what? I will say better than Shanga. Better than Heimdall. No. Merlin can get shit on, though. You know, I gotta say no cap to that. Mulan's awful in Conquest. I couldn't believe it, you know? Like, she was okay. I play Clash in Arena often. She feels okay there. And then it's just in Conquest, she's just so bad. Her laning phase is so bad, dude. Like, it's awful. Listen, she's not unplayable, but man, does she need, like, some tweaks. Like, but the thing is, like, it's one of those characters where if you make that 1 do too much damage, if you make the 2 do too much damage, if you make the 3 faster, she's gonna be OP. So it's just really hard to say, you know? I think she has her place, right? She has a place in Soling. You can play her. But dude, like, if you get King Arthur, if you get Cucullin, if you even get Achilles, like, you're gonna get outlaned. You're gonna get pushed out. You're gonna get harassed. You're gonna get out-sustained too. Maybe it has to do with her training. You know, maybe there's a better way to make that training passive, to make her abilities actual abilities. Maybe there's a better way of doing that. Maybe that's the answer. But for now, I think she's really not too good. C tier, I would say she's still a little better than Yorm, just because of CC. But not better than Chiron, but better than Kumba, I would say. Neith is an interesting one. You know, that's my girlfriend, actually. I don't know if you know that. She's been my girlfriend for a few years. Neith is a really solid character, but she just doesn't have the wow factor, you know? Other than getting like a double shot weave on someone, like getting a 1 weave, you know? Like hitting 1 inner weave on someone, sorry. I don't know. Double shot weave sounded cool. I'm using that from now on. But I don't know the actual term for it, but you guys know what I mean. Other than that, getting that on somebody, she doesn't have the wow factor, but she is really solid. You can't deny how solid she is. She is fairly safe. The backflip's still not great, and no CC immunity really sucks, especially in this meta. Her CC is just okay. Other than early game. If you get mannequin and you like root someone, you start autoing the shit out of them. That sucks. Can you tell that happened to me? But yeah, that sucks. But it's just she does lack pizzazz like a Hachiman, but she's got the strengths. You know, she's really solid. I'll say she beats on her out for the best average. Get in front of him. How do you do that? There you go. I'd say she's the best average, I would say. Nemesis, absolutely rock solid, I would say. You know, I would like to say there's times when Nemesis just doesn't feel solid, but she always feels solid, and in some matchups she feels great. It's just I don't know. Yeah, there's no time where she really feels awful. She can always deal a ton of damage. Her ult's always going to be useful because there's always going to be a tank there, you know, that she can ult, or a problematic target, any problematic target that she's just going to lay a huge slow and damage on, you know. So yeah, I think she's just a really solid pick. I will put her, I think, in above average just because, like, it's just never not a good time to pick her. Yeah, I think just above Hou is okay. Now, Naja is a wild card, a bit of a wild card. He has gotten significantly better. Like, the Sash now actually is Count Capula. Count Clapula. Count Capula is another joke, sorry. It does some crazy amount of damage. And comboing that with the ult, I mean, it's one-shot central. They've helped out the ult a little bit with its clunkiness, you know, its weird mechanics, how it actually has like 5 damage phases or something. How it's a little bit hard to beads because it seems like he beads it, but he didn't beads it. But then it seems like you shouldn't have been able to beads it, he beads it. That whole confusion is still there, but it's completely undeniable the amount of damage that Sash brings. And just still like blink ulting someone, blink sashing someone during a fight. Extremely useful. He's able to flex between being a full-on assassin or a bruiser. It's really, I'm going to say solid again, aren't I? It's really good, right? I just suck ass at him, I guess. I mean, there are just those games, though, you know, where, like, the opponents are just too safe. You know, they're not going to get their beads burned, or they're not going to get their shells burnt, or, you know, the thing that you need to be gone just isn't going to be gone by the time you get in there. So there's that factoring in. Naja, man, what are you? Nah, I don't want to say above average. I think he still has the same old flaws. If you get going on Naja, it can be hard to stop him, but it's still possible to stop him. So in that sense, you know, I think he is below a Kali or a Fenrir, or Nemesis for that matter. Some other junglers in average tier here. I think he fits in pretty well with these. But maybe like there. That's fair. I need to see more of him. I don't think he's broken. I know Sino, like, Naja got buffed, now he's just going off in ranked. And, you know, good on him. But it's just, for the most part, for the non-10,000 worshiper Naja players, I still don't think he's quite fixed, if that makes sense. Like, he still has the same old problems. Same with Nike, actually. Like, her new 2 is so clunky. It's just an awful ability to use. Like, you don't even see people use it other than just popping it instantly for damage, you know? Like, oh no, she has a second ability. It just does damage. In theory, she shouldn't be too bad. But she just doesn't bring what other warriors bring. She doesn't bring the super crazy damage, the super hard CC, like Cuchulainn and King Arthur and Guan Yu. And she absolutely does not bring any utility to your own team other than disabling the enemy team. No, she doesn't have any heals for your team, move speed boosts for your team. Well, she has her passive. There's that. That's true. And honestly, it does help. But, you know, I do think she's still lackluster in a lot of ways. You can still pick her and feel like you're doing work. But I don't think she's any better than somewhere in average tier. Do I have any other soul laners in here? Dude, soul laners are broken, in my opinion. Yeah, I think this is like my first soul laner other than RTO. Nah, I'd say Anubis has more uses. But like, yeah, same sort of idea as Izanami, right? Like Izanami should have the tools to be a useful bruiser, as Nike has tools to be a useful bruiser. I say bruiser twice, whoops. But it just doesn't quite come out that way. Like she's lacking just a little bit, just to be at the point where maybe she's just way down on like who you should be picking. So Nox is also weird. Like Nox, like how does she fit in? She is a utility mage with high damage, high amount of CC for the enemy team. Has the obviously the silence root cripple combo, of course, classic, but also the damage reduction on her ult, which I think gets overlooked a lot. I think it's actually a lot more useful than people give it credit for. And just the sheer damage, if you hit a good one, like in the jungle and 2 or 3 people, it can actually really cripple a team. So she has a lot of uses, but it just doesn't always come out that way. She's quite safe, actually, too, which is nice. And does a ton of damage, and once she's fed, oh, it hurts. It hurts my soul playing against a fed Nox. So I think she's definitely an average tier, definitely not below average, but definitely not above average either. Because she is actually quite difficult to play. Once you're really playing against good players, she becomes more and more difficult to play as her because people know how to play against her. So I don't think obviously Anubis I think is more useful. Capri's definitely more useful. Umbats is more useful. Maybe yeah, here. No. Next to Hera. Like not quite Hera level. I fucked up the whole thing. No, I didn't. Dude, there we go. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Okay. Not quite Hera level. I think Hera is still a little more useful. But I think better than what Medusa brings to this carry role and Kukulkan brings to the mid lane. Nuwa, though. I think Nuwa is actually so sleeper. I think Nuwa is awesome. Like, obviously, she's like, big boobs. I'm a boobs guy, you know me. But, like, dude, I think Nuwa's actually so solid, it hurts. I think just below Ganesh, I think she's like a Jingwei, where it's just like, she's got not only safety, but crazy high damage and decent CC. Like, her ult late game, like with the Conduit Gem, Soul Gem, Soul Reaver, with on-hit items like this stupid character Giannis, like, bro, it actually chunks everyone for like a third of their health. Now it's wild. I think it's awesome because I actually think she's a pretty fun character. But relying on the minion AI, that can hurt your soul sometimes. That's true. But if she's played correctly, if you're using your passive root well, she could actually be very difficult to deal with. We just talked about Nox. Hopefully that didn't go through the mic, sorry. We just talked about Nox. I feel like Nuwa does what Nox does, but better. Obviously, Nox's CC is more oppressive once it hits, but Nuwa's is just a lot easier to confirm and a lot less risky and not a lot harder to deal with, but more difficult to deal with just because it's a little bit faster. And she has big boobs, so that helps. Odin, I just feel like Odin's nowhere, Like early game, good. A bird bomb does a lot of damage. Cool. But the 3 is just so crazy telegraphed that like no one's afraid of it anymore. Everyone's interrupting it. Everyone's dodging it if it goes through. Just a useless character, it feels like. And the ult, like, it's been around for so long that, reworking it into a couple new mechanics with like it being a, what's it called, not a pentagram, pentagon? I think it's a pentagon, right? Or an octagon. Hexagon? It's something agon. But making it be breakable walls and stuff. And just people just know how to deal with it. And in lanes, it's not as useful because the lanes are so much bigger, and just everyone just knows to just buy Phantom against him. And even if the cooldown's low, like people just aren't gonna fight till their Phantom's back up. They're not gonna be stupid enough to go for that. And the thing is, like, it's just so. The way he gets in is either blink or jump. The jump is way too telegraphed. You can't do that. So unless you have your blink and your ult up, you're not going to get a good ult. And when you do ult, everyone's going to know the exact ability they need to use to get out of it or to best survive within it. It's like, you can say that for other characters, that have been in the game for a long time. Like, how to space yourself against the Hercules, things like that. But he can still catch you by surprise. I feel like Odin just can't do that. Like, you always expect the cage and you know exactly what to do, and it works every time. You know, like Odin can't take you by surprise with that cage. It is what it is once it gets popped on the floor. So I actually think he's below average in that sense. I love this character. I have a whole Smurf dedicated to him. I'm sorry if you don't like Smurfs. I understand, but I'll put him just man. I feel like Mulan's in actually the kind of the same place, but I'll put him level pegging with like Yorm down here. Just like Yorm is actually new, but he actually does feel kind of dated. If that makes sense. So Olaron's tricky. He's like the best player, the best god in the game, and the worst god too. Like the heals are nutty. Like he can actually heal you for almost as much as a Hell 3 heal, I think, right? It's almost the same amount of healing. And then he has really good hyper carry potential. It's just you have to get a really good Olaron ult in the jungle. I can't really do it in lane anymore. A really good Olaron ult. It's curtains. The game's over. Goodbye. GG. But if it's a bad Olaron ult, the Olaron will die. His team will die because they're trying to fight in the bad Olaron ult, and it's just over. But, like, he is pretty safe. Do you hear a squeak? What was that? Dude, my voice is actually dying. But the safety's okay, actually, because he does have really decent range. But, you know, well, first off, people know to play around the knock-up now, you know, his heals knock-up. They know to play around that. Not only that, but some characters just don't care about that knock-up, like a Tsukiyomi. Like, he's just going to ult in on you, and he's going to hold his 2 until the knock-up has been used, and just going to 1-auto you instead. And then closing the kill with the 2 after you use your 3, and the heal's just not going to come in quickly enough to save you. So, if you don't get shit on early and you use your Olaron ult correctly, I mean, sometimes you just straight up can't because you get zoned or something. You know, it's not like all your fault if you get a bad Olaron ult. It's just sometimes it's just how it goes. Better than Freya for sure. Better than Kulkin. Better than Medusa. Better than Nox. Better than Hera. Better than Hunbats though. Yes. I will say he's right in between Khepri and Hunbats, I will say. I mean, literally, Kepri's only here because of Khepri ult. That's a sad thing, you know? Don't like seeing that character in anything but, like, E tier. Speaking of E tier, Osiris, who has just been completely power creeped at this point. I mean, you should never pick this character ever again. If Cucullin, Bellona, King Arthur, Guan, Cthulhu, Achilles, if any of them are open, there's just no reason to pick him. Like the 100% anti-heal doesn't even matter anymore. Like that's not really relevant. You would only really you don't really pick Osiris for his damage because the ability damage mixed with the autos early mid is actually really respectable. It's actually really decent. But you know, at the end of the day, I think he's definitely below average. Not quite Mulan levels because he can really bully some people, especially if they don't play into him correctly with their respective characters. You can really punish people, but other than that, I think just a below Agni in between, yeah, just in front of Chiron, I would say. So Pele, like she one shots, right? She could just eviscerate anyone, chase down anyone. But she can get caught pretty easily, and if she doesn't want a shot and she leaves someone to go leave the fight, she's just a sitting duck, it feels like, you know? Because you have to ult somebody to kill them as Pele, unless you're like crazy ahead and you 3 blink 2 auto 1 auto, and then they're just dead. Unless that specific thing happens and that actually kills because you're so far ahead, you have to ult them, and then that leaves you a sitting duck. So it's a bit of an all or nothing character. I mean, she's awesome to play as, right? But it is a little tenuous, if that's the proper word, I don't know. And I think ganking as her with the wider lanes is a little more difficult, particularly with the ultimate, maybe not being able to reach fully, because you need to connect the first hit and then get at least two ult enhanced autos afterwards. Those are some big words, dude. Big words, no vocal cords, though. So I feel like she does what Naja does, just better. Like, you know, people are always like, hey, you could take them out of the fight, or you could just fucking kill them. Better than a Wheelix in most situations, I would say Paley's better. Um, maybe, yeah. Maybe we split up Geb and Faf here with Pele. That feels okay. Just a quick reminder, holy shit, we're 2.5 hours in, but the closer you are to the top left of the respective tier is means you're better. Is means you're better. I have big brain. Persephone is still ridiculous. I mean, this character is just the nuts. If you're a good Persephone player, I mean, if you're a bad Persephone player like me, I'm shit at her. I mean, she's not all that great. She's still solid, but she's not all that great. But just these people who just know how to space the plants out perfectly and just auto them at the exact right time that they're sprouting and just utilize the skull that ends up at the end of her one perfectly. Get really solid snipe bolts across the duo lane and killing on her. Nope, no specific reference there or anything. But yeah, she's the nuts. But I do have to say that skill cap does come in, and she can get get hurt. Oh my god, I can't speak. She can get punished pretty hard too. But I do think she's just like a better Hera, essentially. Like that's why Hera's so far down here, just because like mages like Persephone exist, you know. So definitely A tier, close to the top. Maybe we split up Amma and Achilles here. Or nah, maybe she's a little bit. Yeah, she's probably like Cthulhu and Cupid split up there. I think that's fair. You tell solo laners are OP. I just realized they're like all up here. I mean, they are though, dude. They're just nuts. Okay, Poseidon. I hate this character. It's another one of those pet peeve characters for me. I remember I got a lot of shit for it. I think I said this back in season 2. I was just like, dude, once your Kraken's down, what do you actually do as this character? Unless you go like some crazy ADC build or something. Like, so you just space with Whirlpool, and that's it. Other than doing your Kraken. I just feel like that's so, like, that is so like a 2012 design of a character. And like, look at these mages. Look at Aphrodite. Look at Persephone. Look at Hel. Baron, Shunga, Merlin, Nua. Look at what these characters can do. And Poseidon's like, I do big damage with the stun. Is that cool? Like, dude. I don't know. I know Kraken does a lot of damage, and that stun knockup is a nasty CC. I just don't feel like he's a complete character, you know? I mean, he could definitely do some work with just the Whirlpool, the 2, and the 1. If you're, say, like 2v2ing jungler mid laner, that can do work. You don't necessarily need a Kraken there. It's just, it comes to those late game fights. Kraken's just not hitting like it used to, you know? Like a Scylla's just going to come in and just do twice the damage with her ult instead. So I have to say he's below average. I have to. You know, he gets picked all the time, and I'm just sat there like, you Kraken, congratulations. But like your team picked up the rest of the slack for you, you know? And then like if you get a bad Kraken, it's over. You were a useless mage if you did not get a good Kraken. What did they use the old That's the old Poseidon picture, bro. Yeah, I'd say he's a little worse than AMC in that respect. So Ra got nerfed, but I think he's actually still nuts. I'd say he's like above average still. I'll have to think about that for a sec. The nerf was nice. It was a good nerf, but let's think. Yeah, thinking's hard, by the way. I don't know if you guys have ever done it. It definitely doesn't make him terrible. And the safety, he is not quite as safe, which I'm very happy about. They nerfed that move speed, right? So that's good. Or did they? What else? What did they nerf? Don't look at me. I don't know things. But I think he's still above average. Just not quite as crazy. Not as good as Hel. Maybe more level pegging with Chang'e now. A little bit better than Chang'e. Better than Merlin. Just above Serb. Just above art, actually. Just above art is good. Yeah, I like that. That's good. I mean, he's still really solid. Um, just does a ton of damage. Just one is alone will just eviscerate any squishy. And then just the utility that just one ability his 3 brings, and the safety that his 2 brings. It's all you need, really. And he's not the safest character, not the most damaging, but you got some really solid tools at your disposal. And I think it's a little better than Merlin in that respect. You know, like you just get a little bit more out of that heal than any utility that Merlin brings. So Raijin actually got buffed, and I think this character is really cool. And I think if you get a good Raijin ult, it's curtains for the enemy team. But like, it just doesn't seem to work out all the time. He's a really, like, once he gets going, he's hard to shut down, but you can definitely shut him down. You know, once he's sitting in that ultimate, it is a bit like he's a little bit of like a less safe Scylla, essentially. Still, even after those buffs, he's like a less safe Scylla. So it's hard to really justify picking him. But I will say he's a little bit better than Kukulkan, just because he's a little less coin flip with the ult. Like you have time to reassess how you want to use your ult as you're using it. It's not just like a one and done deal. And he's still got the good space control, like what Kukulkan has and what Nox has. But I think Nox's utility is just a little bit better, and her safety is a little bit better too. Even if the damage is less than Raijin. I mean, Raijin still does. What was it, like 200% scaling on his ult? It's nuts. But so Rom, talked about him enough. Got to place him now. I think he's gonna split up our solo laners, or maybe he's better than Apollo. Nah, maybe not. But he's just the nuts. This character, like he just does absolutely everything you want a hunter to do +1 essentially. Like he's got the safety, but he's even more safe than he should be. He's got the carry potential, but does, oh my god, he actually does more damage than he should. He has really good lane pressure. Oh my god, wait, he actually clears the wave really well. Like from level 1, you know? He could just roll in like an Apollo does and just start shredding people. But I think Apollo's a little bit better at it, and Apollo's a little bit safer. But you know, in terms of pure carry potential, I think Rom probably ekes him out a little bit. But I mean, still, like you can't deny like the way Apollo's ult can be used for split pushing or just for extreme safety, things like that. Rom's ult is good at that too, but I think Apollo's just ekes him out a little bit. So Ratatoskir's seeing slight resurgence actually in the solo lane, which I think is awesome. I think Rat solo is really cool. I think his acorns are kind of, you know, I'm glad they brought them back, you know, and I don't think any of them are too crazy or are too gimmicky, essentially. Other than the crit one, I think the crit one's a little silly, but other than that, I think they did a good job bringing it back. And the silver acorn, I forget what it's called, something bark acorn. The protection shred one is really cool. I like how that works. I think that's one most people are bringing up with like a bluestone. I think that's awesome. Like I love Rat, but yeah, you know, I think he's above average, and it's really undeniable what he can bring to both jungle and solo lane. But I don't know. I feel like he's still lacking a little bit. So he's above average, but I would say he's still less than like a Fenrir. But more than a Hou-Yi, a little bit less than an M. Well, it just depends on the matchup, really, because sometimes Rat can actually just, like, plop off. Like, he could just jump around like an idiot and kill everybody. It's just, I think Nemesis is more consistent, which is why she's a little bit above. Like, she has more matchups where she can pop off, or just, like, do neutral. Like, Rat sometimes gets poo-pooed on, you know? Raven is somewhere there in average. Honestly... Yeah, no, he's still average, but like he definitely fell off with like how hard it is to gank now with the wider lanes. Like it was already hard for him to get like vanilla ganks off. Then he was always more of like a beast mode. I'm just gonna ult in and try and kill someone, team fighter. But I think he's a little lower in a where were we looking at? Better than Kukulkan, better than Raijin, better than Medusa, better than Nox, not better than Hera, I would say. It's fair. if the game plan works and you get like an 800 damage ult off and you auto them for like 300, use your one for 400. They're either going back to base by their own accord or like in a coffin, basically. So Scylla's up next. Definitely above average. I'd say just above Hell. Just above Kuzin, I would say. Like, the damage is just ridiculous this character can put out. Even if you don't get your ult off, the ult is still great for escapes. And honestly, if you actually YOLO use it, you can actually catch people by surprise. And then you do like 1,500 damage. It's kind of... It's a bit much, to be honest with you. And the Crush especially is just so big, it's honestly kind of hard to miss. And it has inherent tank shred on it, which a lot of people forget about. And that's awesome in this meta. And with Conduit Gem, she just got a little bit better too. But I think Persephone still ekes her out just because of that pure utility. Scylla has to work a little bit harder for. Serket, definitely in average, I would say. But better than Raven, and I would say better than Humbats too because of the flex with being able to be a bruiser as well as an assassin if you really want to go that style. I'd say above Daji, yeah, a little bit above Daji. Above Horus, yeah, that's fair. I think a little bit above Horus as well. Like she can put in a lot of work. She's a really good base damage. Like the base damage on her 2-1 ult combo is actually really solid. So you can just go full tank if you really wanted to. I prefer more like a bruiser type of build, but you can put in a lot of work with her, honestly. And like the 100% anti-heal, it does come up. You know, the annoying thing about these healers with the stupid Lotus Crown and the movement speed, and oh my god, I hate it. But you know, the 100% anti-heal does come up, and it does last a very long time. And it does true damage, so. So set's ridiculous. I don't know if you guys probably don't watch my highlight series, but the set, like, I hate this character. Oh, like, you can build him full tank, and he still one-shots everyone. Why? I hate it. But, you know, it's undeniable, though. You can't deny it's good. You can blame jungle, you can blame solo. I think ADC might fall a little bit out of favor, but mid's actually going to be a pretty good role for him this season, I think. But I don't think he's quite as good as Kuzin, but I do think he is better than Hell at the very least. I mean, you guys know Set. He just rushes people down like a madman, and then once he half hits you with all of his autos, he will one-shot you with all of his clones and his one. And if he doesn't do that, if you Aegis it, it's okay. He'll just escape. You had to back. He didn't because he healed to full as he was hitting you. It's cool. It's fine. No, it's fine. But that's Set for you. I think he's still really solid. It's just other warriors got so strong that he sort of fell off a little bit. Well, excuse me. Other solo laners. I'm sorry, Cthulhu. Other solo laners got strong, and he was at the tippy top, and now he's just moved down a little bit. But he's still a really solid pick. Not a solid. Well, she's okay. I think she's like Chiron. Scotty's like Chiron. Like the 3 honestly gives so much move speed that she is actually kind of safe in a decent amount of scenarios. And 3 just messes people up. Like it's such an unpredictable piece of CC that it can actually really mess people up. But yeah, she can get slapped around pretty hard. So she's down here, and I think she's a little less safe than Chiron, and has a little less presence than Mulan, but it's definitely better than like a Kumba or Nodin, at least. So the damage is good too, especially to like structures and objectives, you know, with the dog and all that. You can't discredit her for that. And again, the move speed once the 3's, you know, it's got the maximum area size, so she gets the most move speed possible. It's decent. It really is. But it's just like, why bother, man? Why bother with that character when there's so many other hunters? I mean, you can do it and still have fun, and you probably won't get eviscerated. But, you know, you probably would have felt better playing another hunter, even if it was more boring. The Sobek, support solo flex. The damage is crazy. The sustain is crazy. Pluck is still a fantastic ability. You know, pluck into his 2 tail whip. Yeah, the tail whip. And then into an ult and just sitting on them like for like 5 hours and then doing like 1,000 damage. It hurts. It hurts your soul to watch, but I mean it's great. I think he is honestly, I would say, damn, I hate Kuzenbo, so like I want to say he's better than Kuzen, but I'm not sure if I could say that with like a straight face. Not better than Set. Well, you know, I'll say Set's better than Kuzen. I'll say. You know, speaking purely, you know, casuals and ranked mindset. So I'd say just behind Hell, but definitely better than Ama, better than Achilles. It's just he's so annoying. He does so much damage. He plucks you into his entire team, and then he just doesn't get punished for it. It's soul crushing to watch, but like he does it really well. Can't knock him for it. So Soul, Soul's kind of nowhere, honestly. Like she's a solid character for sure. You know, like she can carry pretty hard. She does pretty decent ability damage. But you know, thinking about, excuse me, thinking about like how she compares to Oloron. Honestly, when it comes to like non-coordinated play, Soul actually kind of level pegs with her. Excuse me. Better than Kronos. I'd say she's better. I don't know. Maybe I'm just better at her than I am at Kronos, you know? Because I have decent success with her. I think she's okay. Yeah, she's probably below average. I still think she's better than Kronos, though. I would get slapped up left and right if I said that in front of a pro player, but like, no, I think she is. I think she just has the damage. Did you hear that, dude? My throat's done. It's crazy. And I do think she's a little more useful than Mercury. I know her early game is like so bad, but I don't know. I feel like it evens out at the end. So Wukong, Blue Kong's back, and is it better than ever? Maybe. You know, I think I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put Cthulhu right there, and I'm gonna put Wukong right there. Just because, like, Wukong's crazy, right? Like, he just runs at your backline. He does, like, 1,700 damage and then just walks away unscathed. It's kind of nuts. But, you know, I do feel like he can get shut down if you just keep on checking him. Like, the thing is, you can't get complacent with the Wukong. Like, you have to keep on checking him. But I feel like if you check him, you can stop him. And the thing is, like, you could deal with King Arthur too. It's a little more difficult with Arthur because, you know, it's harder to check him at all. Like with Wukong, especially pre-5, Wukong, you can actually deal with him pretty easily. Especially with the more greedy, say, like, Soul Eater sledge builds. I think he's easier to check than King Arthur. And the thing is, if you check Guan, Bellona, and Cuchulainn, they don't care that you check them. And Cthulhu, for that matter. They don't care that you check them early game. Like, they're still just going to do their thing. I feel like you can stop Wukong a little more easily. So now my boy, Susano. Where do I think he goes? In my hands, obviously, S plus tier. Duh, I got to make a new tier. But, no, seriously, he's seriously great in casual and ranked, though. Like, he just does so much damage. Like, if you actually calculate out all of his auto-attack cancels, not even speaking on doing 100% optimals, which aren't really an option all the time. People are just going to walk away from you before you can do it, usually. But even speaking on, like, suboptimal AA canceling, like, bro, he does by far the most damage out of any assassin. Other than, like, a full Tsukiyomi ult, Susano easily does the most damage and has some of the best CC. So that's an undeniable fact that his damage is wild and his CC is really solid. So, and he could be really hard to deal with all the tricks you could do with Blink, you know, doing a fadeaway or a Frosty X special, things like that. And you know, they're really flashy in clips and stuff, but they really do work. Like, you can really catch people off guard and one-shot people. It's just his early game is really bad. With Mannequin, if you get on a player, great. But he doesn't clear camps very well with Mannequin Scepter, so that's unfortunate. That's a trade-off. You have to analyze the situation, see if you want to make. But the thing is, he is a really safe pick for the most part. And if you play him well, I know, like, executing his combos is not hard. I will be the first to admit that. But, you know, thinking of which combo to do and in what order you want to do them is actually really important. And, you know, not a lot of people just like mash with him and do the same rotation of abilities over and over again. But if you mix it up, you can actually, you know, say you're against an RTO or a Ganesh or a Geb, you know, stuff that's really hard for him to deal with, you can actually play around it. You just have to be a little more patient with it. And you know, maybe it's just because you guys know me. I have like 11,000 worshippers on him. No one else on this list comes close to that. So maybe that's why I see more like openings for me to counter people. But Sano's just got that flex in him, you know. And just speaking purely, like this is based on uncoordinated play, by the way, guys. So we got to keep that in mind. And I gotta say, I say he's just above his sister actually. And then we get to, you know, Sobek and onward is the really crazy stuff. So I would say he's just below being really crazy good. Then Sylvanas, like, I think Sylvanas is good. Like he's got his uses, right? But he just dies, you know? Like that's another one of those undeniables, right? He just dies. He can usually do good damage before he dies, get some CC out, things like that. But like, you know, I'm looking at the other characters other than Kepri. None of the other guardians just straight up die like he does, you know. But I mean, he's still solid. It's just like, he's probably like down here or something. I mean, healing's good. Healing's in. Healing's the one. And Sylvanas can build Lotus Crown, no problem. So he does have that going for him. I'll put him just above Poseidon, I think. Is solid for him. I think Athena suffers the same sort of issues. Like, you know how to space a Sylvanas, like you know how to space a Athena at this point. So Terra, I don't like playing as Terra, so, and like I don't see a lot of Terras, but her damage is crazy, you know. I get hit with a Terra combo, like say it's just a 3-1-1, right? And I'm like, oh my god, I'm against a damaged Terra, really? And then I look at her build, like, oh my god, she only has a Void Stone and tank boots, and she did that much. Oh no, oh my god, my voice. But yeah, seriously, like she does actually wild damage without, like it's like a Gabrakan actually, wild damage without actually having to stick her neck out. So that's really cool. And she can give Lotus Crown. Honestly, just giving Lotus Crown is better than anything her heal could ever actually achieve. So that's good. She has that, and then a really solid ult as well. Not as crazy as it was when it was global, but it is still a really solid ult. So if you just like spam group up, and a team actually groups with you and gets the ult on them, ooh, you're cooking. Or if you just do a blink ult, which I see a lot of Terras do, you know, blink ult 3-1-1 combo is a pretty simple one. It actually does put in the work. It's very, she has a very simple game plan, but it really actually does work. I think Ganesh at his peak is better than Terra, but the thing is, like, Ganesh can have really big, you know, peaks and valleys type thing. So like Ganesh can actually have pretty deep valleys as well, where I feel like Terra, you can always, you know, you always do something with Terra, whereas Ganesh can kind of feel floppy sometimes. I say just behind Nuwa is okay. Maybe I need to see a little bit more of her and I'll put her above Ganesh maybe, but we'll see. So Thana is an interesting one because he actually has wonderful sustain. We all know that. He's pretty much a she at this point because of his best skins are actually when he's a girl, so that's odd, but you know, that's just how it is. But anyways, he can do Mannequin because he has the crazy sustain from his passive and his one, so that's nice. But the thing is he's not really a Mannequin character. He can walk down people pretty easily if he gets the scythe, but like the thing is, you usually want to like catch people by surprise. Maybe you like blink 3 auto, 1 auto, and then try and chase down with Mannequin. But like it feels like Mannequin's not really worth it, you know? So maybe you don't have to try and abuse Mannequin. So maybe he's just in the same place he was before, you know? Like he's always been really solid early and mid game. So I mean, what's changed? Even if he is better with Mannequin than I'm thinking he is, I haven't actually tried him yet, unfortunately. But maybe he is better than I'm thinking of with Mannequin. but you know, like who cares? He's already really solid early game. It's just that he falls off really bad, and if he misses his death scythe, not only do you look like an idiot, but you probably are useless for the next 10 seconds or so. But the execute is undeniably good, undeniably useful. The silence is really useful. Man. He's definitely not. He can't be below average, right? He's got to be below Raven, I think. Because I think Raven does his job a little bit better before an enemy is ready to be executed, essentially. Maybe he splits Raijin and Cuckoo, I think. It's okay. Morgan, though. This character with Conduit Gem, not good, and probably got buffed, so that ranked build is even better. Uh-oh. That's not good. And Rod got buffed, too. Yeah. I mean, Morgan is... She's so fun and such a cool character. It's just like, man, oh, when her base form is good, it just makes the character ridiculous because you can turn into, you can be the best magical assassin SMITE's ever seen, and then turn into whatever the best character in your game is. You know, it can feel really unfair sometimes. I mean, you got to time it right, you really do. But like, dude. When you time it right, it just feels so unfair to play against. Morgan does. But again, can't hold that against the character. That just means she's even better. I would put her... Oh, that's tricky. Is she better than Persephone? Is she better than Scylla? It's super matchup dependent, you know? Like, what if there's just not a good person you can ult into, and you just ult into someone to be another source of, say, you just need another carry in a fight or something. But, like, dude, nah. Like, looking at, like, there's so many things to ban. There's going to be a good character for you to turn into. But, like, what is a Persephone? You can turn into Persephone, so, like, isn't she just better? I don't know. I feel like she's just so disgusting with the Conduit Gem as an assassin. Like, her first form, her non-ult form, is at its peak right now, pretty much. And then she can just ult into wherever she wants, and the ult hasn't been touched, right? It's still the same ult. So, yeah. I think that's that. I think she's really great this season. Thor. Thor is also really great. It's just he does like a little bit more because the map is bigger. The bigger the map gets, the less percentage of the map he can cover with his ult, right? That could be a general consensus you could look at it from. So does that mean he's better than Susano, who I have as my top jungler, I think? Well, other than Set as my top jungler. I do... Sorry, hit the mic. Like... Susano just lets you do so many shenanigans. So does Set. Same sort of idea. As just like... He just appears in front of you and your life bar's gone. You know, same sort of deal with like Susano, Set, and Tsukiyomi, who's coming up soon. They all do that same thing. That's why they're so good in ranked. But Thor, he has that mobility. He has really solid damage. He's just a little bit slower is all. A little more reactable as well. But, oh, he's so solid, though. Like, he does have an answer for everything. But execution is a little more difficult. Definitely more difficult than Suk and Susano. I'll admit to that. I missed the shit out of my Thor walls. I'll say... Better than Sobek's. Dude, Sobek's so annoying. Just above Susano, I'll say. I think Thor, he just answers a bit more. He's a bit more flexible, I think. So I think he's a little better than Susano. So where does Thoth go, dude? I hate Thoth. Dude, Thoth is such an annoying character. Why does he do so much damage from so far away? That's why Giannis is like second highest, dude. I hate that. But whatever. We gotta place him. Where do I think he goes? His safety goes down with how the lanes are now. So there is that. He is lacking in utility other than in very specific jungle fights, usually near objectives, I think, is where he's at his best. Probably better than... Nah, I think Discordia is probably better, right? He's better than Hebo, I think, because he's far lower risk than Hebo, even if the utility isn't there, and the damage is a bit less easily applied. But I'll say Thoth is just below Rat there. I think I put Hou so high up here because I like him so much. You know, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, that dive bomb is gonna get you killed so often. I think I'll place him here between the Wheelix and Camazotz. That's a dude. There we go. That's a fair place. So Tsukiyomi, we could finally talk about. Sorry, I lost my mind halfway through. I started remembering release Tsukiyomi. He is still nuts though. Like, I know you can Aegis the whole ult, but like, oh my god, if you don't Aegis the ult, it is just the stupidest thing. It just, you can't dodge it, and it does 900 damage. It's oh, I hate it. And it applies on hits. Oh, sorry, I got a little too into it. But yeah, it's not fun to play against. I feel like in coordinated play, I think he's a lot worse. He's a lot easier to play around. But in uncoordinated play, I think he just runs train on everybody. I think he is just above hell, honestly. Like, I'm speaking honestly here. Like, people just don't respect Tsukiyomi's range, and they just eat half their life bar from like mid screen. No, sorry, that's a fighting game term. From his max distance, he can still like half health you. It's so stupid. And then he'll just all in you with the ult afterwards, and the ult's on like a 56-second cooldown because he buys full CDR every game and gets away with it because it doesn't actually need that much power to do 1,000,000 damage. Tier's up next, and just an annoying, so boring. Tier's so boring. He just doesn't die, but he doesn't do anything special unless he gets a great Blink Fearless that everyone's going to read 5 minutes before it happens. So, like, he's just a really bad version of Sobek. Like, it's even more annoying because he just heals for more and he's more mobile. Ugh. Like, Tier just stagnates lanes. He doesn't win you games. I hate it. I hate that character. But, like, it doesn't mean he's, like, unplayable. I don't know. I think he's worse than Osiris. But, like, ugh. Mulan doesn't stagnate lanes. Ugh, she actually plays the game. Can you believe that? Playing the game. Lame. When you just push waves out of tower and then full heal every time you get punished. Dude, just do it, forehead. Ullr, I wish was, like, really good, but trans builds are not in, and you really need it if you want to be useful as Ullr, because you need the really strong damage scaling. I know Dominance is really solid, and I think that'd be good on him to get a little bit of that... a little bit of pen and a little bit of power in there just to make up for the fact that you probably aren't going to be able to get away with going trans for the most part. But man, I don't know. I'm just labbing Ullr and I'm like, let's play. Follow's so good and so is Ram and Cupid. Oh, there's no point. I mean, you can play him if you want. But, like, there's safer characters that carry better, characters that do more damage. I mean, if you eat full Axe Auto 1-3, like, I mean, yeah, he's going to do a lot of damage, but the thing is, you can return that in spades with just pure autos. Not even just speaking on the ridiculousness that is Mannequin Scepter, but, like, straight up, just ADCs. People with heavy stims, like a Rom, or even just a Cupid, who, like, just, like, bath bombs you. Sorry. Why did that make me laugh? He just bath bombs you with this ult. And he just starts dashing in on you. Like, he just returns the damage anyways. And he's like, okay, you half-health me. Congrats, I just killed you. Was that fun? You don't have any CC immunity in your kit when you have the slow jump as your only escape. Having fun yet? But, I mean, he's not terrible. He can definitely apply more damage than CERN. Yeah, he's definitely better than CERN, even if he's a little less safe. And even if he's not as explosive as a Medusa, I do think he's still a little bit better, but not as good as Oleron. Not as good as Hera. I'll put him right in front of Raven. I'll do that. You know, I just really don't believe in that character, if I'm honest. I love him. Ullr is awesome. Just, I don't believe this is his meta whatsoever. Vamana, Big Baby, he does work when he ults, and then he gets out of ult and is useless. So that kind of sucks. But like he could actually slapbox, honestly. Like if a mana goes unchecked, or even if you check him, you know, you can really still give your team a hard time. So I'll put him in somewhere in the average tier. Where's my other solo laners in there? Like RTO. Like he has more carry potential than RTO, but RTO is a better all-rounder. So a little bit lower. Thinking like Nike. Yeah, I think he's probably better than Nike. Better than Anubis? No. So just ahead of Nike, I think. That's the old picture too. That's so ugly. Next up's Vulcan, who still has this picture for some reason in the game as well. So Vulcan's a lot better than people give him credit for, I think, but he does still have a lot of flaws. He is actually extremely mobile, but I think you do have to go do more bottom to get the most out of that move speed. You know, like the move speed on his passive. But you know, the zoning is really solid. It's just like you might as well just play Hebo though. Vulcan's more fun. Don't get me wrong. I agree. Vulcan's awesome. I love Vulcan. He's a very fun character to play as, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe yeah, worse than Hebo. Where are my other mages at here? Worse than Baba? Yeah, I would say a little worse than Baba. Baba's got that range going for her, even if with the unsafe ult. But the ult damage on her ult is still more confirmable than Vulcan's. Then we get down to Hera. A little bit worse than Hera. Level pegging with Nox, I would say, is fair. Probably just ahead of Raijin, maybe. Nah, just below Raijin. Raijin's really solid. Well, actually, Thana too. Thana can just straight up carry games. Like, you can still get mollywopped as Vulcan even if you're fed. Like, it's hard to slapbox a Thana, right? When he's fed, but you can slapbox a Vulcan pretty easily. I don't know why I used that term. I'm sorry. Xbalanque just struggles to find a place. He's another one of those guys that struggles to find a place, but he still has merit. It's just like no real point. I mean, AMC will carry harder than Xbalanque will at this point, and like any hunter upwards is going to carry harder, other than maybe Stern. Better than the Soul, I would say, just because of the ult, better than the Soul. But Poseidon's Kraken, I think, will outdo that. I wish he was better, but I think his design is definitely dated. So, Zing. Oh, actually, you know what? I do want to try Deathstoll on him. You know how like you put one level into your branching bolas, and you would actually branching bolas would be free basically. So maybe I'll try that in the future. Zing Shen's really solid though. I mean, this guy just sits on you like all day, and he's got the stupid dashes too to keep you extremely safe. I mean, it sucks, frankly, playing against that, but like, what can you do? He's just a very annoying Guardian to play against, and the ult, you have to answer it in some sort of way. Like, as a good Zing Chen isn't just going to try and ult you at max distance for the goal. He's going to be right in your face and just ult you, and you have to answer with something. You're going to burn something, and someone's going to follow up with you. Or he just follows you in the ults because you... this has never happened to me. This is just headcanon. Because you Neath backflip into a wall by accident, and he just follows you with the ult. That's never happened to me, but that'd be crazy if it did. But yeah, seriously, he really does do a lot of damage in the support role. I don't really see him as a soul laner. I'll have to look into a few items. Maybe we can see him in the soul lane again. But as a support, just a really solid aggressive support. I don't think he's Kabrakan or Cerberus level. A little bit worse than Faf, but not by much. Yeah, so like say RTO's in support role there. Put him above the Zots. I'll put him above the Zots. And then Yamaj, our only support that's gonna go in S tier. Sorry. Yeah, she's definitely S. Like, this character's nuts. Just the stacking heals on heals, the damage on damage, CC on CC. The ult's ridiculous in the jungle. I know it's not too great in lane. It wasn't before, and it's even less so now. But you can actually still cover most of the lane. I'll put him above Ron, actually. Come on. Don't be scared. All right. Well, better than Bologna? Yeah, I would say so. Because, you know, you can still shut Bologna down eventually, right? You know, after you chase her for like 45 seconds. So there's that. You just can't really shut down Yamoja. Like, even if you kill her, she's going to get an ult and like 4 ones out before you can kill her, you know? So she's still going to do work before you kill her. Yeah, you guys know what's up with the Yamoja. She's been meta since she came out, pretty much. People thought she was bad, and then she got buffed. Can you believe that? Like, a character with no cooldowns and then like a spammable slow and stun on top of a move speed boost to keep your whole team safe, like a Giannis. Yeah, it's just nuts. She's great. And then Ymir. So he's really solid, but he does still struggle a lot early game. But there is that aspect of him, especially now that he's gotten buffed so many times. If you farm him, kind of doesn't matter, you know? You can keep him in the dirt, make him 0-8, but like he's still eventually going to get his items and he just won't care anymore. And he'll be able to walk up and freeze you eventually anyways. So trying to shut down Ymir solely is just not a good strategy. I see people trying to farm Ymirs and it's like, dude, he's still just going to blink freeze you at the end of the game and be tanky enough to deal with most of your damage, even if you try and put him in the dirt. And of course, we know his wall took a bit of a hit with the lanes being bigger now, but you can't deny how damaging he is. Like, I remember that was the Wolfie 2032 clip where he basically got a triple kill with Tsukiyomi cutting through everybody, and then Ymir just like ulted and then 2'd him and then autoed him to death from full HP, and it just didn't matter. I think Ymir is just really unfair in that regard when you try and like, if Ymir is trying to zone you and you're a carry and he gets frostbite on you, okay, you lost. You can't beat him. You can't out damage him. He's just gonna force you out. So it can feel really unfair if he singles you out. And if he gets a good wall in the jungle, of course, it's awesome. But you know, it comes with its fair share of risks, especially in ranked. Again, like I said, trying to put him in the dirt can sometimes feel like a lost cause, but sometimes it actually does. You can close out games before he starts to get those items. So I think he's better than Herc and Fen, better than Discordia, and just better than Nuwa. Not better than Ganesh. I think Ganesh is a bit more of a safe bet, you know. Like Ganesh can still die pretty easily, but like he's more of a wide variety of times he's useful. Unlike Zeus. Zeus is kind of ass. I don't know. Like, there's kind of no point to Zeus. Like, you just kill him before he even detonates you. I know they're talking about bringing more changes to Zeus, and for that I'm happy. But just as it stands, he just kind of blows unless you get a really good ult off. Like, you can go like just say you go neutral and you play really safe and you have a good time, you get your farm, and you're really farmed up, you're happy, you're like, oh, let's do it. I'm going to ult 5 people in the Phoenix. The ult starts coming down, starts doing damage. You're about to press 3. Oh, you died. Oh, well, that sucks. I know that doesn't happen every time. You can get your detonate off and do a really good amount of damage, but it just doesn't wind up that way most of the time. Like, people know to focus you and they know you're going to go down easy. Even if you press beads, if you press Aegis, you're going down. All right. Yeah, they need. You know, I heard it talked about like just bring back the move speed and the protections while the shield's on the ground. Like, how does that sound? Just give them something. Maybe not the protections because you can already go a Bruiser Zeus and it does do work. So maybe just give them the move speed instead. I know people are probably tired of hearing this character is going to get move speed, that character is going to get move speed now. I know it's annoying, but like, if so many characters already have it, then he needs something to keep up, literally. So where do I think he goes? I don't think he's trash tier like Opwash. Like, he just has... He's basically Opwash, but the corpses have tracking because they're lightning bolts. Why do I have to explain? I'm sorry. I'm almost done. I'm happy. Definitely below average. What other mages I got down here? Agni, probably worse than Agni. Utility's not quite as good. Isis. Better than ISIS? No. Better than Hades. I would say better than Hades. That's about it though. Just no love for him really. So Zhonger Donger actually really solid in solo lane right now. I know some people go mid with him, but you can actually get yourself caught pretty easily that way. People have been finding that solo lane is actually a pretty good home for him. Pretty much just don't get against Kukulkan. Like, that's probably his worst matchup in solo. And you'll probably be okay. Well, actually, the Wukong poke game is actually pretty bad for him to deal with. But he's actually pretty solid right now. I don't, I need to see him in action more. I haven't seen him too much. I think maybe 2 or 3 times I saw him. With him one game. Yeah, with him one game, against him too. And he was pretty solid. He was really respectable damage, respectable tankiness. And it felt like he could 1v5 if he really wanted to with that ult. And he's just really hard to shut down because, well, as you know, tanks, they're kind of strong. So I'll put him in average tier. Let's see here. Better than Faf. Maybe. Yeah, I would say better than Faf. Yeah, better than Faf, but not better than Pele. Pele's just so good, like, at carrying ranked games. There we go. Okay, so that's the finished tier list there, boys and girls. If there are any, probably not on my videos, let's be honest. But, yeah, that's my tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Again, this is for ranked and casual only. I'm not even thinking about coordinated play. I'm thinking about, like, minor coordination and, like, ranked VGS, basically, Like, I'm not even trying to think about how a pro player would see this, because that's just not how 99.9% of us see the game. You know what I mean? So that about wraps it up. Thank you guys for watching. If you skip to the end, I actually had the tier list in the description the whole time. I'm sorry. But that's it. Have a good one.